Okay, let me get the link here.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to a spicy episode of Xbox Chaturdays. This is Miles with Windows Central Gaming, and today I'm joined by the, I guess, legendary Colt Eastwood. How you doing on this fine Saturday morning?
Legendary.
Oh, I know,
Well, I
Spite
mean, I'm old enough
hyping
to
you up.
be some type of legend, I suppose. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm excited. I get to play games while we talk about games, so
Ah,
that's the best.
that's what it's all about. The best of both worlds. You get to see some live, real gameplay and some conversations about Xbox. But again, thanks for getting up. I know it's a little early for you on Pacific time, 9 a.m. It's not much later for
Hmm.
me, 10 a.m. Got to cater to those UK folks. Thanks, guys, for making us get up on a on a Saturday morning.
Yes.
But Colt, for those of you who are, I guess, for the audience who aren't aware of who you are and what you do, I'm sure most people in here are. Um, Give them the breakdown of Colt Eastwood. Give them a taste of the man who runs the channel.
Well, several decades ago, I was born onto this planet. Now, I've been around in game for quite a while. An interesting tidbit about me was in the '90s. I stopped playing games for about 10 years.
What? No
Oh
games at
yeah.
all for 10 years?
Yep.
What'd you
It's my
do with your
favorite
free
story
time?
it's my it's my favorite story because around the time Street Fighter 2 was out, F-Zero, Star Fox and stuff like that. Um my younger brother made fun of me and called me a Nintendo freako. And he
Nintendo
said that his friends
Freako.
made fun of
That's
me because
harsh.
all I do is play video games.
Dang.
And I was at the age where I should be doing, like, I don't know, more things besides playing video games. I mean, back in the '90s, nerds were not cool. So I I got mad at my brother and I threw down the little purple and gray Super NES controller and I just stopped playing. And so fast forward to me going to college and starting a family and building a house. I had other things I was doing, and once I had a couple kids, I thought, you know what? I really miss video gaming. And basically, I went from Street Fighter 2 and Star Fox to what was coming out was like Gears of War and Halo 2 and 3. Like I had missed all of that. So I am
Dang. You missed a
totally.
iconic Xbox era then. So,
Yeah, like people talk about some of the big games that came out during um, the mid '90s to the early 2000s that I totally missed out on. But I mean, I did play stuff now and then. Like I remember sitting down and playing GoldenEye at someone's house and going, "Holy crap! Look what they've done with games." So I have a huge appreciation for what games are and what they can be, and I am totally addicted. I am not ashamed.
dude, that's crazy cuz it's safe to say you're pretty synonymous with the Xbox brand, I guess, Xbox platform. So it's funny that you missed like the OG Xbox, right? Pretty much that whole
Yeah,
cycle.
so it's cool because in '07, I wanted to get back into gaming. I'm like, I should buy a PS2 or an Xbox original. I mean, just call it the Xbox because everybody was buying the PS3 and the Xbox 360, and I didn't have a bunch of money. So yeah, I got a Xbox original from a coworker. He gave me a grocery store bag full of games, like 30 games, and a couple extra controllers, and goes, here for 150 bucks. And I took it home, and I was like, oh, and I'm hooked.
And
So
I'm all in. And let's do this.
yeah.
This is who I am now.
So yeah, I mean, that's a whole bunch of backstory, but I it was like maybe 6 months. I turned around and went and bought a brand new Xbox 360. I got GTA 4, um, and a bunch of other games, and I've been talking to coworkers about games who don't even like games, and I just got to this point where I need a place to outlet my love for games and my love of production and graphics work, and I got into YouTube like as soon as I was able to capture game footage and get a PC, and that's why I do what I do.
Oh, awesome. No, thanks for, again, like I said, most people in here I feel know you. We have a lot of people in the chat. Hazador, Gunstar, Pong. What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. But yeah, I know there's obviously a lot of crossover between our audiences with being in the Xbox space. But yeah, this is probably the first time you and I have really had to have like any sort of in-depth conversation outside of, memeing and shit posting on Twitter. So
yeah, sometimes, right?
so it's fun to get to sit down and just kind of like get to know a little bit more about you, and it's a good way to get a peek inside the man. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about a few things. Primarily, we're going to be talking about something that I just want to touch on a little bit as we go through here is, the positive momentum that Xbox has going into this gen versus kind of where they were at a few years ago. The ever tired studio acquisition rumors that are constantly happening, and then yeah, we'll also be touching on some details about the medium as well. So if you guys have any questions about the medium, I got to sit down with the development team or a couple members of the dev team of the medium, talk about their experiences developing on the Xbox Series X, and specifically how that differs from developing on the Xbox Series S. So at least from their perspective, I can kind of debunk the Series S holds back gaming, which is fun.
Oh, I'd love to hear that.
But first, couple quick updates. I don't know if you guys saw, but Xbox Pope absolutely killed it with the Phantom Dust custom Xbox Series X. If you were watching the last episode, he joined the chat, and I basically told him that he had to make it happen so he could bring Phantom Dust back, and then sure enough, he pulled it off. So if you haven't seen it, pop over to his Twitter real quick and check that out because it's beautiful. I saw so many people who don't even know what Phantom Dust is. They're like, I don't even know what this game is, but this console's amazing. So yeah, it turned out awesome. Also, first super chat, dang, Gunstar. Everyone knows Colt Heart. Oh, that's sweet.
Oh, Gunstar's a good dude. Yeah.
And then an update on my broken collarbone. I went to a specialist on Wednesday, and turns out I have completely displaced my distal, which is the upper collarbone. So probably no episode next weekend because Thursday I'm going to be going and getting my shoulder cut open and some metal plates put in. So that'll be a real
what?
Yeah. So basically, you probably can't tell from the camera, but my collarbone's sticking up out of my shoulder a little bit. There's this bone underneath, and what they have to do is basically put a metal anchor in that lower bone and then put a metal plate on top and then squeeze them together. So yeah.
Oh my word.
Yeah, so kind of worst case scenario, I was hoping it was just like, oh yeah, you got a little fracture, no big deal, we'll just let it heal. But no,
wasn't this one of those things where you did something like it wasn't like a stunt for a movie?
I am a professional stuntman, yeah. Absolutely.
Right.
No,
you were jumping off of a speeding car onto a semi truck.
Exactly. I was filling in for Jason Statham, kind of wearing the bald cap, getting in there and taking care of business. I rolled wrong. No, I was skateboarding. I was bombing down a hill.
Oh, you were? Okay.
And then tried to brake with the tail and just kind of lost control of the back end and flipped out and then rolled right into the old shoulder. So that was yikes.
Ouch.
Yeah, so that was fun. That was a good time. All right, we got another super chat from Harpire Dawns. Thanks to the podcast and amazing chat, I could pre-order an Xbox Series X last Saturday in Colombia. Hell yeah, that's right.
Nice.
Because you were saying that pre-orders weren't even available for you in Colombia.
Wow, that's really late and good to hear.
Miles out here dislocating his collarbone from slapping these Sony fans. I think it's a little harsh. I'm pretty nice overall. I like a good joke here and there, but I'm a pretty jovial gamer, I guess.
People take it really seriously, don't they?
They do. All right, I got to figure out. It's been a minute. I'm trying to figure out how to even get you in this game. All right, I got to claim my house first. All right.
Are you doing a brand new playthrough?
Doing a brand new playthrough because it's been a long time since I've even played this game. So trying to ease back into it. All right. So yeah, let's first dive into some of the rumor mill discussions about studio acquisitions. I don't know if you've heard, but Bungie has been confirmed to be bought by Microsoft. Colt, have you seen this? Have you heard this?
That's how you're gonna frame it. Yeah. Very, very interesting. I don't think it's true. How about that?
What? But
Yeah.
why
But
not?
I
I saw it
mean,
on Reddit.
okay, you saw it on Reddit. That makes
That,
a big difference.
that's the. Is
Um,
it not true?
well, I mean, looking at it logistically, or logically, um, Microsoft has kind of said that they were asking too much, and I don't know. Like, Bungie's making a new IP. Destiny's a big money maker. It would be an acquisition for sure. But like, what do you see that looks like it's a plausible move for Xbox?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people obviously have the association with Bungie and Halo, so that's kind of where I think a lot of the
Hmm.
rumors are honestly coming from. Just that possibility of having Bungie back in house to, I don't know, somehow be involved with Halo again, which I guess would be cool. But yeah, from what I've heard, Bungie is asking a lot. They want a lot of money, and I mean, obviously, Xbox isn't afraid to spend a lot of money because they just bought, you know, ZeniMax for 7.5 billion. But I think it's
Yeah.
kind of a matter of value proposition for them because as it stands right now, Bungie has Destiny, and what else do you get with that outside of Destiny and obviously the developer talent, like a talented pool of developers. Um, but Xbox has Halo; they don't need Bungie for Halo. So
No, they don't.
it's a
Well,
tough
I
it's a
mean,
tough sell if they are asking for a lot, and it's possible that somebody has bought Bungie or somebody is trying to buy Bungie that is not Xbox. But
and I don't think Bungie would want to be bought by Xbox to come back and take over Halo. Even if I don't think that's something that they would want to do. They like their independence. They want to make something new outside of Destiny for right now, while they continue supporting Destiny. But the interesting part about this is that all of the content and the brand new content is coming to Game Pass. So that almost points to like that's a pretty big deal to invest all that into Game Pass and get because people are going to pay $20 for the next expansion. I think it's $20 usually for Destiny 2, but if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you're getting the brand new expansion and all of the content and the entire game, right? Will be in your Game Pass sub this holiday. So we were looking at that. I was talking to the people I podcast on an RDX podcast. And we're like, does that kind of point to maybe they're doing something beside they're actually talking about something with Bungie to acquire them because they're putting all that content in one place? And we're like, hmm. And you look at Stadia. Google has every right or to acquire Bungie and just say, hey, we need something really good in our pocket to bring people over.
yeah, and that's I
So,
mean, there's a lot of rumors, and the thing that's kind of tough to do for a lot of people is separate the rumor from where it's coming from because we like to get it. It's fun to get excited. I do it all the time, like the Sega thing. I didn't think it was actually going
mhm,
to happen, but I was diving down the rabbit hole of all the controller color comparisons and the Sonic kind of comparisons. It's like, oh, blue
mhm.
controller. The first time they've ever launched an Xbox console with a colored controller, and it's the exact colors of Sonic. And Tokyo Game Show's next week. So it's fun to go down those rabbit holes, but there was no like credibility for where that was coming from. So
Yeah.
it's just fun to speculate, and that's kind of some people see these rumors and take it seriously. Like a lot of people going down the Nintendo and Xbox rabbit hole, basically saying that because Steve from Minecraft is in Smash, that Xbox is going to buy Nintendo, and I'm like, what?
Nope.
How are you
Nope.
connecting those dots? Like, let's come on now, settle down. It's cool. It's cool to be excited, but I don't think we're gonna see Nintendo buy or Microsoft buy Nintendo.
No, I think the most likely or natural scenario is for Xbox Live to make its way to Nintendo Switch or Nintendo consoles. And that means, like, at the very most, you can use your Game Pass subscription on a Nintendo Switch. But that's out there in the future as a possibility or a scenario that could happen because uh, the difference between Nintendo and PlayStation is I don't think PlayStation would ever allow an Xbox Live application running on a PlayStation or Game Pass to be playable in any capacity on a PlayStation. And it's the same thing as saying, why would PlayStation let their games be on Xbox? Those two compete in a different way than any other platform.
Yeah, yeah. Nintendo is kind of the king of just doing their own thing, and you got to give them credit for doing that. Their Xbox and PlayStation are kind of competing more in the same space, and Nintendo is filling. Basically, Nintendo is creating its own niches to fill, which is really cool. Quick shout out to the 169 people in here. Dang, let's see if we can hit 200. We got. Is this Jez? Jez, are you lurking? Don't you got family stuff? And then
family can wait. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, have you figured out how to invite me? Like, can you
I know.
Open your?
Does this game not have crossplay? I'm just doing the regular. Does. Okay, try inviting me. Because for some reason it's just grayed out for me, and I'm just being a big old doofus.
Okay, I'm gonna continue in. I've got
because I do have I loaded up a different save as well to see if I could invite you, but it was still being. And then Hazador talking about Xbox buying Capcom, and that's kind of like that would be my dream pickup for Xbox when it comes to Japanese talent. If they could pick up Capcom, and then just, even if they don't buy Konami, if they could just buy all the good Konami IP, I'd be fine. I honestly, I don't care who buys the Konami IP. I just want someone besides Konami to have it, even if it becomes a PlayStation exclusive. Any reality where we get a new Castlevania or a new Silent Hill, I support. Because at this point, it's just kind of depressing to see all these iconic franchises just sitting and dying.
Well, that's weird because there are rumors that Street Fighter 6 is exclusive to PlayStation again.
I've been hearing that one 5. Too, and ew.
So if Xbox is sitting down saying, "Hey, Capcom, we want to buy you," and they're like, "We're almost done with Street Fighter 6, and it's going only to PlayStation," and I'm sure Xbox would just say, "That's fine," but the rest of the stuff would be on Xbox. And then there'd be another scenario where, like, there's no way those Capcom games would be exclusive to Xbox if they're buying them, and, like, there are prior arrangements that these companies have paid in full. Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop, Sony paid money for the pushing of the publishing for that.
Exactly.
Are you able to join?
Yep, I'm in. Okay. I'm in. We're doing it. Co-op is happening.
All right, I'm right behind you.
How do I dab? Gunstar says, do you think the love-in with Nintendo is a little one-sided? I see that a lot online. I'll get your thoughts on that first, Colt. What do you think do you think this relationship with Nintendo is one-sided?
That Xbox loves Nintendo?
Yeah, like people are saying, generally speaking, that Nintendo isn't giving enough back.
Oh, yeah. Nintendo holds. I have. Let me turn this chat overlay off on my screen, or I can't see the. I can't see the gas gauge. That would be horrible. I don't know. I just think that Nintendo does what they do, so they don't really need to do anybody any favors. So, is there enough gas in that thing?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. We got no, not really. There's
other cars.
There's
a
splash. Okay.
Splash.
Exactly. Nintendo kind of does their own thing. I think for Xbox, it's kind of cooler for them to have these collaborations, to get Banjo in Smash, to get Steve in Smash. Yeah. Hopefully Master Chief in Smash. That would be my dream candidate. I think that would be the ultimate, like, this is the Xbox rep. Because as it stands, Banjo originally was on Nintendo, so you could argue that that's not really an Xbox rep. And then you could argue that Steve has been multi-platform basically the entire time, so that's not really an Xbox rep. But if we got full-on Master Chief, that's an Xbox rep right there.
Yeah, people are asking for Xbox to make their own Smash type game.
I would love to see that, as long as it's not PlayStation All-Stars, because oh my god, that game was.
It wasn't any good.
It was fun. They just didn't copy Smash Bros. Enough. Like, the finisher mechanic that they incorporated for that game was so gimmicky and stupid. If you're gonna copy Smash, just copy Smash. The formula works. It's clear that it works because they haven't changed it in like 20 years. So if you're gonna copy it, please just copy it. Don't try to put your own spin on it. Doesn't need it. But I
wasn't paying attention. I brought out a character that is totally exhausted.
Oh yeah, ooh yeah. What else do we got here? Oh, Streamlabs is saying we're playing Remnant from the Ashes on Xbox One. That's false. We're playing State of Decay 2.
Oh yeah, I haven't played that much. Let's see.
It's pretty cool. Are you a Souls guy at all?
Oh, that's right. That's what that is. No, but I am about to become one in full when Demon Souls comes out.
Ooh.
The game looks really cool. I'm just gonna
it
really
looks so good.
put my patience to the test. Yeah.
That'll be your first foray into a Souls-like then?
Yeah, I mean, I might as well. It's basically the first Souls game, isn't it? There's Jez.
Oh, Jez?
Right.
Jez, I thought you had family stuff. What are you doing lurking in here? Damn. Jez lurking
That's
in
awesome.
the game. Yeah, so I guess touching back on the studio acquisition stuff, the one that I feel is most likely as it stands, and we've seen some more recent stuff to kind of tie into that, is the Bloober, the team from Bloober.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
because I don't know if you saw the
that.
weird kind of little glitch mispost
on
their YouTube where they basically listed Bloober as a first-party studio, and then they quickly took that down.
Oh, they took it down. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So that's since been taken down. So yeah,
I'm just switch characters real quick, and then we'll
set out. Which is,
to me,
I'm a big horror game guy, so for me, like, that would be one of the most exciting gets for them. That team loves horror. Like, they are the most passionate modern horror developers out there. They're big horror movie and game nerds. So, and Xbox has kind of surprisingly been leaning heavily into horror, which is kind of cool. Like, it's cool to see Xbox kind of really leaning into that quote-unquote niche. But yeah. That's, as it stands right now, that's probably the most likely that I could see in very near term kind of acquisitions.
Oh, okay.
Jez is on xCloud, the power of the cloud.
Oh, he is. Oh gosh, I was using that yesterday. I got to figure out how to swap characters. I forgot the button to go to your community. It's like right at the tip of my memory here.
I know, it's been so long since I've played this. I'm just trying to like remember how everything works.
I played it a lot when the Juggernaut expansion dropped, so early this year or late last year. Dang it. Okay, view beds. I think I can just change characters. This will work. Okay, I am ready.
Oh yeah, I gotta drop off my rucksack. God, oh.
Yeah, you better get back into it.
I know.
So I ordered the Razer Kishi from Amazon and got it yesterday and hooked it up to my Note 9, my Galaxy Note. And I wanted to try the game console streaming, and I was playing Skyrim on my TV here in the game room, and I hooked up and went to streaming, and I was looking at the same thing my TV was looking at, and I walked into the other end of the house and started playing Skyrim with a full controller, like a Switch, attached to my phone. And I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And I don't even have the correct Wi-Fi. Yeah, this is the future. So I only have like 2.4 gigahertz regular Wi-Fi, but it will still work pretty well.
Okay, yeah, that's the only thing that I've noticed, because I've done some side-by-sides with 2.4 and 5, is usually like the picture quality is fine, but I've noticed a huge difference in latency between 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. Like, that's the biggest factor.
I need to buy a better Wi-Fi.
Blondie but geeky,
system.
what's up? Who else is in here? Sorry, I'm trying to moderate the chat like a boss.
I'm trying to just do it all.
I'm trying to make it all happen. I appreciate it. We're almost at 200, 187. Can we do it? How's everybody doing on this fine Saturday, by the way? I need to circle back to the one-sided Nintendo thing real quick as well.
Oh, geez. We're gonna go all over the place.
All over the place. But yeah, no, I don't really think it's one-sided. I think it's just kind of a cool thing for Xbox to be a part of. In regards to
the industry is evolving like never before. To see these companies work together at all, like they usually didn't need to, and it was enough work just to do your own platform, but to see them work together and collaborate. Did Jez jump out of our game?
Yeah, he's like BRB dinner, lol.
Oh, okay.
Jez is just gonna be intermittent.
Okay, I'll let me find a. Oh my gosh, we could take on a Plague Heart if I have one left, but maybe not. We're gonna go ways out here.
Big gamer time. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, I just to expect these people to collaborate together, these companies, it's not usual, and it's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, it's definitely a new era, and it's exciting because I'm personally as you know, we have the Marvel culture, but I'm a big fan of crossovers,
Mm-hmm.
and it's super cool to see all these outrageous crossovers that you never thought would exist. Like, I remember when Capcom or when Mega Man was first revealed for Smash. I never ever thought that would happen, but it was super cool.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that is cool. So you were saying that Xbox made a mistake and hey, there's my car.
Ooh.
And acted like that was a moment there. I ran out of gas. That thing almost blew up. Well, actually, it did blow up on me, and I almost died. And I was carrying a bunch of gear, and I got crawling out of that wreckage on that uphill on the road, and I'm like a mile from home, and I am hobbling while the ferals are chasing me, and
Oh,
I'm
the ferals are
hobbling, holding my
horrifying.
arm. Like, yeah, it's like you don't get this in a lot of games, and State of Decay doesn't even look next generation, but it has a level of immersion you just don't see on really any other game, and you never are so afraid to die on this game
Yeah, and
because
like
it's
it's one of
big
those
stakes.
games where any little thing can go wrong and you're completely screwed. Like if your car flips and you're in the middle of nowhere and it's night, you have to like fight your way back through the darkness to try to survive. Moments like
Oh
that
yeah,
make this game super special.
yeah, I can't wait to see what they do with the third one, and they promised like a AAA experience with this,
Yeah.
and they couldn't deliver everything that makes it AAA, but I just can't wait to see what they can do.
Yeah, they made a bunch of massive improvements since launch on this, which is great, and it kind of gives me a little more faith in that team going into State of Decay 3 because even though State of Decay 2 was kind of published by Xbox, State of Decay 3 will be the first kind of Xbox Game Studios budget title from this team. State of Decay 2 was still more or less an indie game in terms of budget and kind of production.
Yeah, I mean it's way better than the first one.
Oh, the first
in
one has
every way.
that so sweet jank though. That really special jank to it. But yeah, so
What is this?
the Bloober thing, some people pointed out that basically Bloober was listed in the sizzle reel as an Xbox first party studio. My theory with that is that I don't know if they're doing an XO event this year, but I commented on Chris Charla, who's basically the community director for FanFest and is involved with XO, and basically made a joke.
And he also works with ID at Xbox, doesn't he?
Yeah, and basically made a joke about XO20. Oh, I can't wait to see that at XO20, and then he liked it and then unliked it. Conspiracy thickens.
What?
So I think there might be some sort of, I don't know if they'll officially call it XO this year, but I think there's going to be something to that effect. And I think we're going to see that Bloober is announced as a first-party studio and that the medium is launching in December in Game Pass. If I had to throw my chips in on that, that would be my bet.
Yeah, I mean, it is coming to Game Pass for sure, and they're kind of talking holiday 2020 anyway, right?
Yes.
So that's a pretty good prediction.
So, yeah, because I talked to the team recently, and I asked them straight up, like, when's the release date for this? When can we play it? And they gave me the holiday 2020 window again. So,
oh yeah,
I don't think it's definitely not going to be a launch title because I know people are saying there's not a lot launching with these consoles. But if you look at the release schedule for the 10th, it's insane. There's like 12 games dropping.
There's a launch window for these consoles because of what's going on with COVID and everything isn't as they wanted or all we wanted. But do we know when Spider-Man Miles Morales releases, or is it holiday?
Yeah, we still don't have a hard date for that one. We don't have a hard date.
It could possibly not be a launch title either. And it's just because these teams can't get everything together like they used to be able to for now.
No, yeah, it's
boy.
Like even I do video production remotely for Windows Central, and even that, like when you get press assets or you get assets from somebody, like Jez will send me hundreds of gigabytes of files, and I have a gigabit down, but still, like that is a time commitment to upload and then download that. So you got to think about like the remote work when it comes to games. So what probably took 15 minutes. Like, call over your supervisor, your art director, say, hey, this is the character model I'm working on here. What do you think? Oh, cool. Change this, change this, change this. Instead, he now needs to
Yeah.
export this, upload that, wait for them to have the time to download it, check it out, and send back notes. So what took 15 minutes now probably takes like 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I work remotely for my full-time job, and I'll be on the phone with my boss, and he's like, this is one of those situations, if I was just standing like over your shoulder, I could have just pointed at the monitor and said, here, do this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
yeah,
yep.
yeah. But we're not in the same room, so it's going to take...
So tell me about the medium. They said that they've been able to do things that they've never been able to do before because of the next generation consoles. Like, did you have a conversation with them about that?
Yeah, so I'll be transcribing an interview. It was supposed to be a video interview, but I won't blame anyone, but there was a technical issue out of my control that prevented me from getting the video for this interview, and the audio that they provided was really bad. So I'll be transcribing this interview. It was about 30 minutes, but I got to sit down and ask them about the inspirations for the game. And
you have to sit and listen to subpar audio and transcribe it down into type?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, that's going to be work. How long was the interview?
It was like 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's a couple hours of work too.
Yeah, so there's actually some cheats, some AI software that's not that great, but for the most part, like, gets it done. So you can feed in.
They can do the first pass for you.
Exactly, you can feed it into, and it's hilarious, like looking at the transcripts for like some of the words that they completely change. But yeah, so I got to talk to them about Xbox Series X and Series S development, which was really cool because, we've heard things. Obviously, Microsoft has promoted it, and we've seen all the PR buzzwords. We've seen all the specs on paper, and obviously, it's Series X in particular is a super powerful machine. But we've had this mixed messaging when it comes to the Series S. We've had developers come out and say, "This is going to hold back gaming," quote unquote, is the thing I always see a lot of people throw around, pretending like PC gaming doesn't exist at all, but. But we've had some developers, and so a lot of like people have been looking at these developers who spoke out and just like looked at the specs on paper and said, "Oh man, this is so much weaker. This isn't going to perform as well." So it was really cool to ask them point blank, tell me what it was like developing for the Xbox Series X, and tell me what it was like developing for the Series S. And they flat out told me that the gameplay idea for the medium, the dual reality system, they've had that idea for about 10 years.
Wow.
They said they literally were unable to make this game happen with previous hardware. They've had the idea, they've wanted to make this game for a while, so they're pretty much like the James Cameron of video games. They had to wait for the tech to catch up with their bold ideas. Yeah. And so they said, these advancements with the Xbox Series X specifically allow them to basically make this dream come to life. And then touching on the Series S specifically, they said the only way that this system is going to hold back next gen, quote unquote, is just on the resolution front. They didn't. Right. They said AI, all the other kind of next gen features, ray tracing, all that. That's not going to be affected by the Series S. The Series S to them is very capable and more than able to run the medium. But they just said they have to obviously lower the resolution, and that was like their biggest critique of the Series S, which was really cool because these guys have sat down and developed for the Xbox Series X and Series S. So they have a little more insight than people who are just looking at these specs on paper and saying, "Oh, it's not as powerful."
Yeah, people are really worried about the compute units count on the Series S, but
yeah, it's definitely lower. Is it? I'm trying to remember what the exact number. It's not quite half.
It's 20. It's 20, and I think
half.
What's the PS5 is 32 or something like that.
And then Series X is 52.
Yeah, so there's a big difference between the three consoles, but it's but you just lower the resolution and you've got this super fast processor, and I think the biggest problem with Series S is the storage space is so low.
Yeah, so we're at 512 best case, so you're probably looking at 3. We haven't got a number from anyone, right? We know what the Series X is, but I'm imagining the Series S is probably like 400-ish, maybe less.
Do we have a number? Yeah, we have a number. I don't know.
Isn't it like 860? for the Series X. Correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong in the
I
chat,
just
but I
I
think it's
just
around there.
heard I just heard that the PS5 is shipping with see if I can find this real quick. I actually
Was it
just retweeted.
664?
Yeah, I need to find that. Um
802.
yeah, after the operating system and everything's on there, yeah, there was 600 something
Yeah,
is
664.
available.
Yeah, people are commenting in the chat. So we got 802 for the Series X and 664 for the PS5, which,
Oh, this is out of gas.
yeah, obviously
Yeah,
Sony wanted to keep the price low because as we've seen with the storage expansion for the Series X, these new Gen 2 SSDs are not cheap. They are not cheap at all. A terabyte
nope.
is still about $200, even on PC. I've seen some people like say, I get a 4 terabyte external for like $80. I'm like, yeah, you
That's
can. Sure.
yeah.
It's not in the same caliber at all. It's like a tenth of the speed.
The other problem
But we're at
is
199. Let's do it. Let's hit the
let's get
200.
to 200. The other problem is the expansion bay for the PS5 may not be much cheaper. It might even be more expensive for PlayStation owners. I already pre-ordered my PS5, but
202.
there we go, 200. The right now the NVMe M.2 drives at 1 terabyte are about $199, and they don't even meet specs for the PS5. So whatever they come out with this holiday or after, I don't even know if you can get an expansion for the PS5
That's the thing
this
that's
year.
been weird to me is like Sony hasn't really broken down what that looks like in terms of expansion. They've talked about how you can get approved SSDs and replace them, but in terms of like an actual expansion, have we seen full on details of how that works and what you can do and what you can't do?
No, I mean, Mark Cerny explained that there's a hit Y on your door there.
Oh yeah. Oh, is it why? Oh my, the door's
Oh,
gone.
just lost the door.
Oh,
Yes, good. I didn't. The air conditioning doesn't work in this truck, so
okay,
it's perfect.
good. My thighs are getting a little sweaty in here.
Mark Cerny said that there's an expansion bay. So I'm just assuming there's a PCI slot
But we haven't
inside one of the white.
inside.
Yeah, I think you just pop off one of the white panels,
Okay.
and there's a PCI Express slot sitting there, and you put a regular desktop consumer grade NVMe. Except let me put an asterisk next to that consumer grade NVMe doesn't even exist. So if you can get an 1 terabyte close to the speed of the PS5 for $199, how much do you think a brand new NVMe that goes above that spec that's currently available that matches PS5 above the current spec? I mean, so you've got like a little about 5,000, what was it, megabytes per second is the speed that they're asking for. It's 5,500 or something.
Something, yeah.
So we looked at the specs, and it doesn't exist yet.
Yeah,
So-
you can't. Well, they have a list. They have like put out a list of like these are the hard drives that you can use, but that's not the expansion. That's if you're literally replacing a hard drive internally.
Yeah.
And does that void
Or
your
SSD
warranty?
drive, yeah.
Is the average consumer going to go in and swap out a hard drive? Can they?
No, I mean, that's why there's an expansion bay so that you can pop open one of the wings and you get to this PCIe. So let's pretend that before Christmas, Seagate or Samsung or one of these SSD manufacturers has a PS5 spec ready M.2 drive. And if it comes out this Christmas and it's brand new and it's slightly faster than the fastest thing right now, it's going to be more than $199. So you could be looking at $250 or even more to compete with the Seagate hot swappable Xbox solution. And which is weird because proprietary storage is usually way more expensive.
Yeah, and that's kind of like we'll go to Johan Cross's super chat. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. He says, why is the Xbox Series expansion card so expensive? 1 terabyte for 200 is very unappealing to me. Yeah, I mean, basically all the reasons that Colt has been talking about. The tech that's in these new SSDs is brand new. There are SSDs out there that are cheaper and they're faster than mechanical drives, but they are not on the same level. The architecture of these systems is built around this brand new technology. And that's why for the current gen games on the Xbox and PS5, they need to be on that internal drive Xbox thankfully has the option for the expansion card, which will keep the performance on par and able to run, because you can still run your backwards compatible games via an external USB drive. You won't get the boosted load, but you'll get the boosted performance. So that's cool. That's a cool option for people who have a lot of current gen games on a USB drive. But the speed of these drives, to your point, they're expensive. They just are frankly expensive. Like, if you look up the details of that expansion card and compare that to a PC card of the same specs, which is going to be tough to track down, it's maybe $20 cheaper, roughly about $200 as well.
And remember, when the 360 era launched, to buy their proprietary Snap-on hard drive, they were expensive. Everyone complains like, it's 2 times more expensive than to get your own hard drive. Why can't you just plug in your own hard drive? And that was a crummy situation as well.
Remember when we were paying $100 for 20 gigs?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh, we got real humans here that want to fight us.
Oh yeah, shoot, we do have humans. Oh god.
Oh, I love how smart they are, how they juke and stuff.
Just crowbar to the. This man's just taking a crowbar
we stopped
to the
talking
head.
Tech to go sit
exactly.
fight for our lives.
Just fight for survival.
So, I talked to a hardware lead for Xbox that tried to explain to me that these consoles aren't going to be cheap, and I'm like, are they going to be 600? He's like, no. He said it's going to be 500. He said this like a year ago. And he said, but people don't understand, it's the storage that's so expensive.
Yeah, you look at the cost of the Xbox Series X, which is a very capable machine with some really high-end components in it. And then you have to understand that $200 of that $500 is the hard drive, which is insane.
Yep.
It's absolutely insane that of all the power and all the processing that's in there, that the hard drive eats up almost half of that cost.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. And I've been telling people, if you have an external USB hard drive or external SSD, just use that.
Yeah,
just use that as
it around.
As your backup storage.
It's not going to be lost.
I've got a 4
it's not going to be
terabyte.
unusable. Like I said, you can still play all your backwards compatibility games or back compat titles.
Yeah, I've got a 4 terabyte, and I would say if you're not going to run out of storage space in the internal the first year, possibly not for next generation games. There aren't that many games that you're going to end up buying, but if you do, like if you play through, I don't know, let's say you just play through one game, early on, and you're finished with it, you could, if it's not a multiplayer title, you can just move it over to the hard drive, and then if you want to play it, if your friend's like, hey, let's play that game, you can transfer it over in 7 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, so the transfers are a lot faster as well, which is nice. So you don't have to reinstall all these games. If you have, what I would recommend if you want to carry stuff over, backwards compatible titles, and you don't want to have to deal with day one re-downloading terabytes of games that you already have installed, is put them on an external drive and then just kind of rotate in and out the ones that you want to play on the machine, because it's much faster for the average person's internet to transfer these titles than it is to re-download 120 gigs.
Yep.
And
so,
another thing to this point of the Series S, thankfully they've come out and said that, due to smart delivery and the basically different versions, that the game files on average will be a lot smaller for the Series S. So hopefully you don't burn through it as quick. It's still going to go pretty quick, but.
Let me see. Let me drop something here.
Okay, let me just catch up on the chat real quick. 217. Thanks for hanging out on this blessed Saturday, everyone. What do we got here? Miles, did you scale down your graphics? Yes, I did. I turned them basically on low just so I could make sure that frame rate isn't trash.
Oh, what do you have for a PC?
I got a 2070 Ti and like a 3.5 gigahertz quad core. But
you should be able to run that thing however you want.
Yeah, that's true. But I think I'll boost it up and let me know if the frame rate dips, because I have my performance or my Streamlabs off to the left, and on my Streamlabs it's super choppy. So I wasn't sure if that was coming across in the gameplay. But let me crank it up and let me just find out if this looks like poopy. Let's go. We'll go to high. We'll max it out. I'm dying. I'm dying.
Oh yeah, you're standing next to the car. I'm trying.
Oh, that's it. There, cranked up the graphics. Let me know if it's fine. If it tanks, I'll switch it back. But all right.
Ooh, that was a great shot. I'm trying to find like spots for us to go find adventure here. I've cleared out almost all of this map.
Miles, read my comment about external, please. Sorry, I missed your comment. Let me see if I can find that. Miser. Sorry, what was your... Can you just reshare that question? Wait. Serious question. Colt, can Series X run 3 externals and the expansion card? Do you guys know?
Probably. At least 2 externals, I would think. Right now, I'm running 2 externals on the Xbox One X. So, yeah, I would expect at least 2. You probably have 3 USB ports on the... What are you doing? You running around in circles?
I'm breakdancing.
Or are you glitched?
I'm breakdancing. Yeah, it wouldn't be a surprise if I was glitched in this game, but no, I'm breakdancing in the streets.
There's no dancing whatever you call it, emote, so you have to make it yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, no Fortnite floss.
What was that question?
He was basically asking if you can connect 3 drives and the expansion card.
So I think there are 3 USB ports. So yes, you could, but I use one of them for my wireless headset, so I've got 2 available.
And how many are you trying to have your entire Xbox library installed at the same time? Is this the scenario here?
No, I can't. I own over 500 games.
Yeah. I've tried. When I first got 2 external drives, my goal was to install my entire library, and then I got like a quarter of the way through and they were all full, and I was like, oh well.
Yeah, it's not happening.
It's not happening.
Yeah, Xbox has no games. But I've got a 1 terabyte external SSD that I bought to see if it helped, and maybe it sped up loading times like 25%.
Oh,
you're bottlenecked by the USB, so there's not much you can do. But are they beating on our truck?
Mm-hmm. I was sitting in the passenger seat and they just threw me.
Oh, yeah, so I would expect you probably can use 3 ports. I think I'm just going to bring over the 1 terabyte or the 4 terabyte conventional hard drive, and that SSD external, I'll just use it for something else. I don't know. Maybe I'll use both. But storage is a problem. It's expensive. And the consoles are dirt cheap, really. And
yeah, when you look at the hardware, yeah, the pricing on that, on the Series X and S, especially at $300 are pretty bonkers, because we've seen people compare them to like PCs and what that would cost, and realistically a cost, like if you built a PC right now, like with current tech, you're looking at least $1,000 if you wanted to match the Series X. Like there's no world where you can build a PC that's on par with the Series X for under $1,000, which is,
yeah,
for like the consumer, that's huge. Like this will be the first gens in a while where it's launching with brand new tech, like RDNA 2,
like current,
and the new gen SSDs are brand new. Like that stuff is really, really new. So it's cool that the console is launching, and it's not launching out of the gate like already behind in terms of components and specs.
I mean, if they didn't announce those RTX 3000 series cards, like people would be like, "Oh man, this is like the right now." Digital Foundry is comparing the PS5 to a RTX 2060 or possibly a 2070. So yeah, things are changing.
Yeah.
They're comparing the Xbox Series X to a 2080 or a 2070 Super, at least.
Yeah.
So
I've heard some people throw around 2080 Ti. I don't know if it'll be that level of performance. I highly doubt that. But,
no, I mean the 2080 Ti does a lot more. So, but then the lowest end 3000 series card does more than, the 20 Ti. And it's pretty crazy.
That's why I never buy a graphics card when it's brand new, because the value of that it drops real fast.
Yeah.
I would be a little salty if I just bought a 2080 Ti when those new cards.
A lot of people did. I mean, but they know every 2 years a new card set is out. So yeah, it was into 2018 when the 2080s or the 20 series came out.
Gears 5 is going to be one of the first games that I boot up, Miser, to your point. Like I want to see that because they've talked about how Gears 5 is going to run with, I think they said 50% more particles than the ultra settings on PC at 120 FPS, which is absolutely bonkers. Like Gears 5 as it stands is a technical marvel. What that team has done, even on current gen hardware, like Gears 5 on my Xbox One X looks better than like 90% of games in general. Like that game looks insane.
It doesn't get the credit it deserves. I mean, Digital Foundry boasted about it and said it was up at the level of like Naughty Dog's visual quality. Like it's a really beautiful game. I love that game.
Jez just bought a 2080 Ti in June. Lol.
Well, you probably got a decent price for it.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on under the hood that is brand new, and that's kind of what makes this next launch, despite the fact that Halo's getting delayed, still super exciting. I am a little annoyed that we haven't seen what Sea of Thieves is going to look like yet. I feel like that's a game that would also look phenomenal with ray tracing, but they haven't even confirmed that an update's going to be available for that title at launch, which is kind of a bummer for me.
Yeah, they just said it's one of the couple of games that they're
working on.
They are, Forza Horizon 4, Gears 5, Sea of Thieves, and I think it was those 3 games. Where did I park our military truck?
Oh yeah, where's our?
I left one on foot.
Where's our doorless rig?
Because there's some stuff over here we can check out. Going this way.
Did you guys read that the Falconer goes up to 8K in the Tower of Power? I did, yeah. Falconer is going to be. They haven't confirmed it officially, but more than likely it's going to be 4K 120 as a launch title, and then 8K 60.
Oh wow!
But yeah, that project in general is crazy. It's one dude basically who's developing the entire game.
Really?
With some assistance.
And you got to play it.
Yeah, so we did a preview for them. Got to check that game out a little bit. It's going to be one of the Xbox Series X and S launch titles. It's also coming to Xbox One as well through Smart Delivery too. So if you don't upgrade right away, you can still check it out. I'm hoping they announce it for Game Pass. They've been kind of coy on that front, but
yeah, that one hasn't been in their let's see what happens if I claim this. That one hasn't been in their promotional materials, so yeah, I don't expect it to be included.
I'm expecting 1 or 2 more kind of surprise Game Pass launch titles, but I think at this point pre-orders have already been live for a little bit, so I don't think we're going to see any megaton. Like I've seen people throwing around like Yakuza and Assassin's Creed. I don't think at this point we're going to see anything of that caliber as a launch Game Pass title.
Yeah.
We got Assassin Lupa with the super chat for Colteastwood. What is the first game? Oh wait, you and Colteastwood are going to play on that beast, the Series X. What are you going to play first, Colt? First game you're going to boot up.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Ooh. Yeah, that game.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. The very first game I played on the Xbox One X was Assassin's Creed Origins.
Ooh.
And
yeah, that was a good showcase for the One X, for sure.
Oh, it looks so amazing. Here's a funny thing. I feel like just playing through Assassin's Creed Origins and seeing how beautiful it looked, it basically paid for my Xbox One X. Like, it made the purchase totally worth it. I was so blown away by how great that game looked and just how big and highly detailed it was. I couldn't believe it. I was really, really glad I got the Xbox One X for that. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
What about you? What are you going to play first?
What am I going to play first? Probably Gears, to be honest. There's a few games I'm looking forward to, but Gears is still like my number 1 multiplayer game. Like that's the game I play the most. Like I have a good group of friends.
What mode do you play a lot?
I play a lot of Versus. King of the Hill is my kind of go-to. We've been doing a lot of ranked King of the Hill lately, but I also love Escape. That mode's super cool.
See, I haven't gotten into Escape. Like, what's the magic between that? Because I feel like
I
run through the corridor. Yeah, I've played it a few times, but I feel like I run through the corridor with no ammo, and at the very end, it just kind of all goes messy, and we just try to run out the door. Like, I haven't. Tell me about it.
Thanks for pointing out my health, guys. Good looking out. My health's good now, and now my stamina's drained. But what's cool about Escape is kind of the speed and flow of it. So it's this kind of quick round-based survival game. So You have different classes, characters have different classes, and your goal is to basically, unlike Horde, which I find gets kind of boring because you're stationary, Escape forces you to constantly move. You have a poison gas cloud behind you that's basically following you as you progress through these stages, and you and your team need to push through these walls of enemies and bosses to get to the end and escape these hives. So your goal is to go into this hive, plant a bomb to basically destroy the spawning hives of these horde. No, what am Swarms. Yeah, swarm.
Yeah, I know. I always get that confused. We're going this way. Yeah, I always get that confused when I'm talking about that because it was Locust for so long.
We're gonna have to go back to camp so I can swap this boy out. He's sleepy. He's tired.
Oh, I wonder if we can find a car nearby. See how far away we're from that truck. Right here. All right, we're going back.
Let's do it. This guy needs a little nap.
So tell me about Falconer. You got to play. They gave you a portion of the game.
So I have the full game. So they're still updating it. So it's an alpha build that I played. I can only talk about chapters 1 and 2, and they won't let me talk about any of the story elements. It's got this, I will say it's got this really cool cryptic way that they do the storytelling that encourages basically death and experimentation. So that's really all I can say about what the story is. Another cool, fun tidbit.
Are humans riding on these falcons, or are they just controlling them?
So, yes. So falconeers are basically this group of people who have tamed these massive falcons, and they use them as basically warplanes. So it's kind of like this weird alternate future. It reminds me of Waterworld. So most of the world is like surrounded and encased in water. And there's these little outposts that stand as beacons throughout the world. And these falconeers ride falcons around as like kind of pirates. So instead of having a pirate ship, you have these birds that you ride around. And then there's these enemy factions that live basically in the ocean. And you have people who like ride flying manta rays around. So there's some really cool kind of like, enemy variety with that. So I can't talk about much more of that, but there's some really cool underwater dwelling people. I'll say that.
Okay, I'll get us path to the camp. It's a long ways away.
Flip this.
Nice. Should have enough gas to get there.
All right, let's do it. Oh yeah, so the Falconer looks cool. It's in my preview I talk about it being kind of slow. For me, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It plays kind of like Sea of Thieves, where when you're in combat, it's super intense, but there's a lot of downtime in between combat where you can kind of just like admire the scenery. And for me, like I really, really like that balance.
And do you know about when that game comes out?
It's a launch title, so the 10th of November, day one. Play that on your Xbox Series X or S or Xbox One.
I'm saying I can chat. I'm in the passenger seat. So I counted I think there's at least 9 holiday 2020 games coming to Xbox Series X exclusively. If all the research that I did was correct. That's funny. I did that video yesterday, and people are like, "A lot of speculation here." I'm like, "Huh?" Like you search up these games, and they'll say release date. They'll either have a date, but most of them just say 2021, 2022, or holiday 2020 if they're that close. I mean, I couldn't believe how many games. I think there's at least 8 or 9 that are coming out this holiday when you get the new console.
Oh, oh, there? Just stopped real fast. Oops. Put a little dent. Sorry I dinged up your ride. No, I don't think Falconer at this point will be a Game Pass title, but I hope so. I think it would be a cool title for Game Pass. But it's really
to get more eyes on it. Yeah.
They have a release date and there's no Game Pass announcement at this point. So to me, that kind of says that no, probably not.
Yeah.
I just bomb through this. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm a wild man. Truck. And we're here.
Oh, who put those there?
Honey, we're home.
No, you just brought some angry.
Oh, this guy's been
Zombies in here.
been following me the entire time.
It's the same guy.
Yes,
He was hanging on the trailer hitch.
Dr. Vortex, happy Saturday.
A lot of people have like been changing how they look at Xbox, and I see a lot of people saying, "Holy smokes! Like Xbox has a ton of games now." It just seems like they put out a dozen games this generation, and now it looks like they have like 25 plus in the first couple of years.
Yeah, we have
So
a
it's just
really good
really
idea
crazy.
of Xbox's like future, which is exciting. Like not all those games are coming immediately. Some of them are definitely a ways out, but it's really cool to see what Xbox is doing down the road. We have a really good idea of what their vision is, and it's clear that the moves that they're making in 2017 era are starting to finally pay off.
They needed it so bad, because going into 2017, I was like, man, what are they going to do? Like, you can't live off of Halo Wars 2 and Forza Motorsport 7 and Super Lucky's Tale. Like, I was really
that was an
worried.
Xbox One X launch title, Super Lucky's Tale. I was like, oh no.
It basically was, yeah. And Crackdown didn't make it. I actually liked Crackdown a lot.
I did too. It was dumb fun. It's like watching a bad movie. Is kind of how I compare that game. Like,
yeah, but
you recognize
the controls,
it's not good,
the gameplay were really good.
It feels
the shooting
good.
was freaking awesome. I loved it.
All right, how do I switch out my guy in your camp? Can I?
I think you can just go to view beds.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because now it's time for this guy to sleep, and click the bed icon, and then pick a new character.
Aha, let's be Edgar.
And then X to take control.
Boom, there we go.
Yeah, Gears would be a really fun game to play with you on here.
Yeah, if you ever want to play Gears, let me know. I play Gears almost every single day. So I'm a big Gears guy. We've kind of started. We got a 5-man squad again, so we've been diving back into the edgelord world of ranked.
Oh my gosh!
It's no game makes my hands sweat like Gears. Like I got the Elite controller, so I'm using the paddles. But at the end of like a King of the Hill ranked match, that controller's dripping, bro.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, if any of you like Gears, follow me on Twitter. We're always looking for fills and stuff. So yeah, I will play Gears any day, every day. So yeah, I guess let's transition in to talk a little bit about all the positive momentum that Xbox has now. Because I mean, even amongst some of the kind of diehard Sony fans, we're starting to see kind of the narrative and the perspective shift surrounding Xbox and the future and the launch of this console.
Right. Yes, we definitely are. I've seen a lot of. Oops. I missed that shot. I've seen a lot of people say, I wasn't going to get an Xbox. I'm a big PlayStation guy. I'm going to get an Xbox. And it's usually not, I'm not getting a PlayStation now. Like, no.
No, it's not that extreme.
Silly.
Yeah, like people aren't going to like completely change their worldview for it, but.
I've heard people that just, excuse me, that don't like Xbox at all. And now they've seen, especially that video I did yesterday, I showed 27 games that are coming in the first 3 years.
Yeah, and that's huge. It's a huge number of games.
Like, kind of are understanding, like, wow, that's a lot of games. I didn't even cover like 5 studios on that list because they haven't confirmed anything.
Yeah.
The Initiative, Machine Games, Fallout 5 hasn't been even spoken of. Arcane's game is only a AAA new IP or something like that, so I can't cover that. Compulsion hasn't talked about.
Yeah, I want to see Compulsion's one of those like wild cards, and we know Double Fine also has some projects outside of Psychonauts 2 because that's pretty much wrapped. So we know they have at least one more project as well. I want to see the first like Xbox Game Studios Double Fine project.
Well, I mean, Tim Schafer just had Jack Black in the studio singing that song for Psychonauts. Why not have him stick around for a couple more months and voice Brutal Legends 2?
Let's do it. They just put it in Game Pass, so that means it's confirmed.
You know he would love
Brutal Legends 2
Jack Black
confirmed.
would love to help do that project again.
Dude, who doesn't love Jack Black? I was watching actually a Tenacious D live video for Hasbro's toy convention this year. For whatever reason, had Tenacious D perform. I was just dying that such a ridiculous, vulgar band was performing for like a kid's toy convention. But like Jack Black is just such a fun dude. Like just watching him, like just puts a smile on my face.
Yeah, and you heard that Brutal Legend is coming to Game Pass. I wish they
Mm-hmm.
would enhance it. Oh
I
gosh.
know that'd be so good.
I think it's just going to be the 360 version, but
Super chat hype from Harpire Dawns again. Thanks, dude. What would a sound studio acquisition be for Microsoft, in your opinion? I'll let you go. I'll let you go first.
what would be a what?
A sound studio acquisition, like a good
Oh, sound.
business
I thought you meant
investment.
like a sound stage.
Just yeah, they're look. What sound stage should Microsoft buy? Oh, okay. I mean, getting into
Yeah,
the
that's
weeds
funny.
here, but okay.
Yeah, that's kind of why I was like, wait, what's this question? What would be a great studio acquisition for them? Well, there's a couple of people have been throwing around. These guys don't make very much, but I think they're immensely talented. Techland would be
Techland.
awesome.
That would be a
Now,
cool one.
I would only bring up like possibilities. They're not going to buy CD Projekt Red. They're not going to buy Ubisoft. They're
No,
not going to buy. I
Rockstar.
don't know if they're going to buy Bungie, but Techland and Capcom, and I don't think they're going to buy Sega. But I cannot wait to see Dying Light 2. Dying Light 1 is one of my favorite games this generation. I think they really nailed it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that would be
shoot.
Techland would be awesome. I've talked about this earlier in the episode. I think Bloober is an amazing get. I think that's the most likely next get that we will see them announce. If I had to put my eggs in a basket in terms of studio acquisitions, I think that's very likely based on their history. They've been playing very nice with Xbox. They've been doing a lot of promotional kind of interviews for the new Xbox hardware. So there's a lot of things for me that point to that being very likely. They were publicly on the market very recently as well, which you have to legally do before you can be bought. So there's a lot. There's a lot that point to that. In terms of sound, like who do I think would be a good get? I don't know. I mean, Bloober obviously is good. Techland would be awesome. I mean, I want to see some more of the ridiculous ones. I want to see Capcom.
Yeah.
I want to see
You just have to
Capcom.
think
There's some history with Capcom and Xbox that I can't really get into. I don't think I'm supposed to, but yeah, there was some interesting stuff pointing to some beyond collaborations with Xbox and Capcom. So, as a big Resident Evil Street Fighter guy, that would be a dream come true for me.
They have a bunch of games. Yeah, it's crazy. And
So many IP.
and a lot of those games have a long history on PlayStation. They've been on PlayStation before they were on anything else. So when you talk about Capcom being bought by Xbox, it really upsets people because they've played Resident Evil games on PlayStation for 25 years.
Started on Nintendo. You had Mega Man on Nintendo. Then you had Resident Evil on PlayStation. So there's been some, collaborations with Capcom stuff on Xbox. Dead Rising, in my opinion, is one of Capcom's.
I
started
love
off
Dead Rising.
as one of Capcom's best IPs. Like that was the reason I bought a 360. When I first played Dead Rising 1, I was just blown away. I was like, what is this game? And then like literally a week later, I went and bought a 360 in Dead Rising. That was the first game that I bought on 360 was Dead Rising.
Yeah, my friends don't like Dead Rising 4, and I know it didn't rate very well, but I really liked it. I don't know what it was about it.
It was fun. It was a fun game. It was a dumb fun game. It did. The fact that it didn't have like 4-player co-op for the campaign was a huge miss, and I think that would have made the game way more fun.
So like it was Capcom Vancouver or something like that made it. It wasn't their regular team. So
yeah, because there's an interesting documentary. I wish I knew, like a YouTube documentary. I wish I had the name on me, but if you just search like Dead Rising 5 development, there's this really interesting story about the basically conflict between the team developing Dead Rising and what they wanted to do and what Capcom would let them do. They wanted to make Dead Rising really like gritty and dark and do like a pretty brutal reboot for 4. And Capcom was like,
"Oh, okay.
No, it's got to be campy." So they had a lot of development.
So campy.
And they basically had to scrap all of that and then basically redo the game, and I think it was like 11 months. And that's why Dead Rising 4 in particular feels a little kind of empty, is because they had to restart development. They were also simultaneously developing Dead Rising 5 alongside of Dead Rising 4.
Really?
Based on the original vision for Dead Rising 4. So they had to scrap Dead Rising 5 completely.
Interesting.
Yeah, I wish I had that
I don't
link,
know if it'll ever return.
But I know, I want it to. I really do. It's a great IP, great Xbox IP.
When a game doesn't sell very well like that, and it didn't rate very well either, it makes it hard for them to propose a sequel.
But when you give a
But
team a limited budget in like 11 months, like what do you really expect? Do you expect critical acclaim and do you expect a ton of sales when you're basically not giving these teams the tools they need to succeed? And it
well,
sounds...
go back and play Dead Rising 3 on Xbox. It is one of the ugliest games on the platform.
Yeah, Dead Rising 3.
And then play Dead Rising 4. It's at 1800p, and it just looks a lot better. It's just a nice, cleaner presentation. I went back to play Dead Rising 3. I don't know, a year ago. I was like, oh gosh, this game is muddy and gritty.
It's brown as hell. Like it's
just really
it's a fun game.
Hard to look at.
I liked it a lot, but yeah, that was definitely an Xbox One launch game. That's for sure. Slightly better than 360.
It's the second game I bought. I bought Titanfall, and then I bought Dead Rising 3, and I'm like, well, look at all these zombies on screen. How are they doing this?
Yeah, and then using the Kinect to call zombies over. Hey, over here.
Oh, I had to wave my controller. Why can't I clear this spot? What's it want me to do here?
Okay, I think I missed a couple questions, Blondie, but Geeky asks if I stream Gears. I don't regularly, but I'm trying to convince Jez that we need to do Gears. Because he's not a big Gears guy either. But I'm trying to take him under my wing and groom him to be a MLG Elite Gears player.
Oh my gosh.
But
yeah, it must be pretty intense.
Dude, I will say, if you don't play Gears, like if you haven't played Gears multiplayer, the learning curve's pretty steep. It's a game that doesn't really play like any other one. Like Halo, Call of Duty, Fortnite, Battlefield, you roughly know what to do when you pick up the controller. It's very intuitive. You understand how the game works because you've played a first-person shooter. Gears, I can't really compare it to anything directly, so that makes it hard. Like when you pick up the game for the first time, you need to spend a lot of time learning how the mechanics work. And that's a huge turnoff because you got edgelords just wall bouncing like 50 times in 1 second.
Oh my god!
And people are like, "What is this game?
Skates.
What am I doing? I can't even take cover." And this guy's over here bouncing around like a maniac.
Yeah, they do. They just rub butter on their back and slide around all the cover and just destroy you with shotguns.
They just slide like it's over before you even know what happened. Like you just explode and you have no idea how or why. Oh, this game sucks. I've had so many friends that I've been like, come on, let's play Gears. And they're like, all right, I'll check it out. I'll see what this is. Never really played it. And they jump into multiplayer and like, this game sucks, dude. This game...
Yeah, it sucks when you play a game and you're just getting wrecked.
The shotgun's stupid. I hate the shotgun. And yeah, if you don't like or want to embrace the shotgun in Gears of War, I would say don't play it because that's the meta of the game. It's like you have to know how to rush down with the shotgun and you have to know how to basically close the distance between people with the shotgun and put pressure on them. And that's like, it's weird. It's different than pretty much any other competitive shooter. Like Call of Duty, you can, but you probably shouldn't just run around only with a shotgun.
Well, I mean, a lot of people do.
I mean, I guess that's true. Probably a lot of Gears players.
Those guys that run around with a hunting knife.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that used to drive me crazy.
I used to see the cringy montages on YouTube of, I get 100 knife kills in 5 minutes. And you're like, God.
Yep.
Oh, bruh. Hey, Hama, tell Jez that Gears is filmic. He'll come running.
Yeah, he will.
Jez officially is retiring filmic. I don't know if you've heard, but he has the Series X now, so everything's in 60 FPS. So he's RIP to filmic. Rip the filmic life.
Yeah, Randolph Thor had me make him
tomato
custom emojis for
goddamn tomato.
Yep, made the tomato.
I was dying. So all that came from a stupid Twitter poll.
It did?
It's all.
Oh,
yeah. What do you think Jez is?
Brandon,
a journalist, insider, or a tomato?
That's where it came from?
And that's where it came from.
That's funny. And I remember seeing that too.
Goddamn meme. Psychonauts8 says Capcom acquisition would be huge for Microsoft. Yeah, if there are a few studios to me that would make it impossible for people to write off Xbox, Capcom would be one. And then From Software, when it comes to Japanese studios, would be another.
Oh my gosh, and they've worked like exclusively with PlayStation.
If Xbox got From Software, there would be a huge contingent of people who'd be very salty, very, very, very salty, and there would be an equal number of people buying an Xbox.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's going to be a great generation. There won't be people like the general consensus when the Xbox One launched was don't buy an Xbox One.
It was so negative.
Like if you were at a store, yeah, if you were at a store, someone would say, "No, don't buy that."
Don't buy that.
You know, like a stranger would walk up to you and say, "Oh no, we don't buy the Xbox."
And that's
because it had such a horrible launch.
Yeah, that's such a horrible place to be as like a business and a company. Because you skipped the OG Xbox, but you did play 360, right?
I mean, like I said, I played the OG Xbox for like 6 or 8 months, and then I said, "Okay, I'm a gamer now. I'm
okay,
I'm gonna
cool.
go
So
buy
that
a
was
brand
at the
new
tail
360."
end.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. So
yeah,
like I came from being a huge Xbox fan because I haven't really had loyalty to one company for the most part. Like obviously I prefer Xbox now, but I started off Super Nintendo was my very first system. A Link to the Past was the very first game I played. I love Nintendo. Absolutely fell in love with Nintendo. And then PlayStation 1 came out, and I played Crash Bandicoot for the first time, and I was like, my God, this is amazing. So I loved PlayStation. Played Final Fantasy. PlayStation 1 had such an amazing library. And then with the next gen, I played Halo, and I was like, oh my God, Halo's amazing. And so I was super into Xbox, and then I got GameCube, PS2 as well. And then from there, I've pretty much gotten all three. Because at that point in my life, I had an experience where one of these companies did something to me that was just groundbreaking and absolutely critical to the gaming industry. And,
that you had to have. Yeah.
And at that point as a kid, I didn't really know that. I was like, oh, this game's sick, dude. But as I look back and reflect, like I can kind of like see why those games and those companies were so important. So at one point in time, all of these companies were super important to me. So now I'll get a PS5 at some point. I don't have one pre-ordered as of now. I want to play Demon's Souls, but I didn't really want to deal with it. So I locked down my Xbox Series X pre-order. But I will get a PS5 at some point. There's no doubt about that. I have a Switch right now. I'll buy the upgraded Switch the second that comes out.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, it was super sad to go from 360 being super high on Xbox as a brand and Xbox as a company to being super low and down on Xbox as a brand and as a company. That was the point I was trying to make.
yeah. I had so much fun in the 360 era, and I bought a PS3 at the very end, and so I had both, and yeah, it was hard. I was one of those guys. I was such a diehard Xbox 360 fan. Like just had so much fun on the platform. And when they announced the Xbox One, I was like, nope. I'm gonna get a PlayStation.
Oh, so you did. Yep. So you full on when the Xbox One launched, or you didn't get an Xbox One at launch?
Yes. No. Yeah, I didn't. So in May, when they announced the Xbox One with Don Matrick and Yusuf, like talking about Price is Right and all that stuff, like I was actually sitting at work on break watching the stream live on my phone with my coworker that likes gaming as well, and I said, what was that? And she goes, well, that was awesome. I'm like, Xbox One? Like what? I don't want the Kinect. Like we bought the Kinect. I don't like it. Like it's a Dance Central machine. That's all it is.
That was a huge misstep. Forcing the bundle.
They did the DRM thing, and I was like, I don't care. Like, and they fixed that immediately. Like the DRM thing was an argument for like 24 hours, 48 hours, and then they reversed that.
Yeah.
But I was mad that they were bundling the Kinect, and it was $100 more, and I didn't like any of the games they were showing, and so when the consoles came out in November of 2013, I didn't buy one. I was still playing my 360 and PS3, and then around when Titanfall was about to come out, which was March of 2014. My friend that I played games with every night, he said, dude, I bought an Xbox One. You got to come over and try it out. I'm like, it's good? He's like, yeah. So I tried it out, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting one. Because I tried a PS4 at my neighbor's. I was like, wow, this is nice. The controller's way better. Like, that's kind of what I went through. Because I wasn't a big Xbox fan. I was just a big gaming fan, and Xbox 360 had everything I needed. So
Yeah, it was.
That's kind of what got me into the way I do my channel, because I spent a lot of the Xbox One generation understanding what they offered and liking what some of the stuff they did, but also asking them for to do more. And then I realized there was so much about the Xbox One that people didn't understand because they wouldn't even get one. You know, they didn't want one.
It was
So,
so negative that people just really didn't bother to even look into what the machine did or
right.
had, and that's kind of the reason I think some of their exclusives didn't do well. I think that's the main reason games like Sunset Overdrive didn't perform well, or Quantum Break didn't perform well, is because people were just
Hmm.
really down on Xbox as a brand. Like if those same
Yeah, no
games
one was.
had released on PS4, I guarantee they would have sold significantly better. Like if they changed nothing about the game but it just released on PS4, it would have sold better. And
Oh
that's
yeah, yeah.
there was
Everybody
just
was there.
so much negative momentum for Xbox, and it was a bummer. Like, you know, I bought the Xbox on day one. I still have my day one edition console and controller and day one edition of Dead Rising and all that. But yeah, it was
Hmm.
compared to like 360 and compared to that era, it didn't start strong, and all that negative momentum just made Microsoft as a whole kind of like pump the brakes on support. So it had a weak launch, and then it had weak support for a while, and that
Well,
was
people don't understand that the Xbox exclusives things almost went away. Um, like I think what you were kind of saying, like Microsoft is ready just to stop supporting. Like, let's just do the bare minimum.
Mhm.
Maybe we can keep this thing around. And Phil Spencer really fought hard to get more support, and that's what we saw in 2017 with Super Lucky's Tale launching, and another Forza game.
Yeah, huge
I don't
shout out
know
to
if they were
Phil
going to
for
pump more money.
yeah, because
Yeah.
basically, in 2017, things were not looking great for the Xbox division. They didn't really have strong leadership. They weren't really sure what to do. The exclusives that they had put out up until that point were not selling well. So they're like, why are we doing this? We're not making money. Like Microsoft as a whole, they're not desperate for money. They make an obscene, absurd amounts of money every day. But as
Hmm.
a business, they're looking at Xbox and saying like, all right, well, we're not performing well here, and so Xbox, or Phil being with Xbox for so long, basically said, all right, can we give Xbox and me a real chance at this, and pointed out some of the
Yeah.
flaws of them, not investing the right people, not investing the right amount of money, and not having the right kind of vision for what the Xbox brand was. So it's been really cool to see the shift in the last 3 years. I mean, we're still not at a point where Xbox is the quote unquote definitive place to play for every single person, but it's getting to the point where in the next 2 or 3 years, I don't see how you can ignore Xbox like people have been,
Yeah.
unless you just don't like video games, really, because that's what it's going to come down to. Like
Well, I
if
mean, there are people that just don't like Xbox no matter what, and there's
and
it's really difficult to deal with them. I mute them in force.
yeah,
There
it's
are times
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was actually I was talking to the guys from Iron Lord's podcast last night, and they were kind of laughing about how I write these super positive professional tweets that sound like they're from Xbox.
Oh, the
And I
PR
said,
speak.
yeah, the PR speak. And I said, I do that on purpose. I said, for one thing, like saying that is just explaining something that is just truthful for the Xbox brand and positive. But the other reason I do that, because people think that Xbox just sucks. But the other reason why I do that is because it will bring the die-hard haters to come and insult me, and then I can just mute them. Because there are people who are jumping
You
on
just baiting
my
people on
regular tweets.
Twitter? What's going on, Colt?
I absolutely am, because there are people that just jump onto my informational tweets or things that I share just to clown Xbox, and I preemptively get rid of them by getting people aware of how great Xbox is doing when they're doing good things. And then the people that are so diehard they have to come to me to make an insult, I just get to weed them out.
It's
And it just makes my life better
Yeah, it's
because
exhausting
I'm on there
to
a lot.
have people who just anytime anything positive happens, they have to say something negative when they're
Hmm.
not invested in it really. Like that's the thing that drives me nuts is like if you don't care about this brand or you're not interested in this thing, just move on. Like why are you taking time and energy to
Hmm.
be like this thing sucks? God of War
Yeah,
sold
this
10
guy.
million copies. Cool.
This guy, yeah, this guy came at me and said, "Why do you talk? You and Tim talk like a robot." And I said, "What do you mean? You mean professional or trying to use the correct grammar?" He goes, "No, you sound like an advert." And I knew what he was getting at immediately, so I just kind of trolled him and I said, "Oh, thank you. I have years of experience in communications and PR, and I appreciate you for the compliment for you pointing out how I speak." And he got really mad. He's like, "No, you sound like an advertisement." And I'm like, "Thank you. I've worked really hard to make my stuff sound professional." But
Yeah.
like, I don't know. It's just these people are just
Yeah,
I don't know what
I don't
they're
know.
upset about.
It's sort of it's an interesting dynamic because it's really where Xbox fans were at the start at the launch of the Xbox One. There were
Yeah,
Xbox 360 was more or less on top, and you had a lot of really kind of like gross people talking about how much PlayStation
gross.
sucks and how Xbox is better. And then when Xbox was, starting to lose that momentum with the launch of the Xbox One, those people
It's
became
payback time.
very bitter, and they were like basically
Yeah,
trying to like damage control and attack people who were fans of PlayStation. Even though there were no merits to it. If you looked at the facts, there was a lot more to be excited about for the PS4 at launch compared to the Xbox One.
oh yeah,
But people just didn't want to have their preferred machine be the underperformer or underdog, so they were just getting kind of gross with it, and it
yeah. And I
sucks to
have
see.
to also point out the gaming hobby is expensive.
It
And
is.
in 2014, I was going to make a decision whether I wanted a PS4 or an Xbox One. I definitely couldn't buy both at the time. And a lot of people say, just buy both and you won't have that problem. But if you can't afford both consoles, you also shouldn't be ridiculing others for the choice and purchase they made and watching their pocket and
Oh yeah.
saying, why did you waste your money on that? So that's why I can't take people seriously who insult others because they chose to buy something or they can't afford to buy both.
Yeah, that really, really bothers me. Actually, let me get the super chat real quick from Binyabik. I heart Xbox. I heart JRPGs and Japanese games. I want 360 times back. I want Otage back from Software. Do it, you cowards.
Do it, you cowards. That's awesome.
But I see people on Twitter say that, as like a defense to these console prices and as a defense to like Sony's game prices, for example, or the price increases, that gaming is expensive, quote unquote, and in a way that says you have to just deal with it. Like gaming's expensive. Like if you can't afford this, you're just poor, is kind of like the vibe that they're kind of displaying with these opinions.
Yeah.
And I can't stand that. It's so gross. The average family, like $500 is a ton of money. Like when you have other bills and other things going on, like sure, if you're in your early 20s and you're kind of working part-time and living with 5 dudes, like okay, maybe $500 isn't that much. But when you have a wife and kids and other bills to factor in, $500 is a lot. So it comes off
Yeah, it is
really just disgusting when people are like, gaming's expensive. Sorry, if you can't, afford the $500, then don't play games.
Yeah, I know. And when I finally got back into gaming, I had 2 little kids, and I'd been out of college for just a few years. And there's a lot more things that you might need to spend your money on, and that's okay.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, it's totally fine. You don't have to have all 3 consoles to be a gamer, as some edgelords might point out on the internet. But super chat.
Drop this in the back, and I'll get in.
Psychonauts, Phil Dominus, Aurelius Maximus Spencer. Jesus.
Oh, you're gonna run me over? Oh, good. There you go. I'm
Let's
just
get
gonna drop
some
this
dabs
rucksack
for
off.
the super chat.
What did is that Psychonauts 8?
Yeah, Psychonauts 8. Yeah.
He's awesome.
Phil's a legend. He's a nice dude. I think he's kind of becoming the new Reggie as Reggie stepped away, because he doesn't really read like a businessman, whereas like Jim Ryan, for example. Not really anything against him personally. I don't know him personally, but he reads like a businessman. That's not bad. He's running a business.
He's a really smart businessman too.
Exactly. Yeah,
That's what I get from Jim Ryan. Like, he knows the business. He knows which direction the PlayStation needs to go to just continue dominating the market. But I don't think Jim plays a lot of games, and you don't have to run that business.
Exactly. Yeah,
but
that's
Phil
fair
does.
and true. Yeah, and that makes a huge difference, because you can connect with Phil as a consumer because he's kind of more in tune with what's going on in the industry, And so that's a little more exciting and a little more relatable when you have someone like Jim Ryan come on in his suit and tie and talk about games. It doesn't feel authentic. But when you got Papa Phil coming out in like a t-shirt and a jean jacket, you're like, yeah, this guy's cool. This guy gets
jacket, yeah.
This guy
I love
gets
it.
But yeah, it is awesome to see all the positive momentum finally like starting to pay off for Xbox. Because I'll be honest, there was a point where I wasn't even that excited about the Series X and S launch. Like March, I was super excited once, when we got some more details and information. And then as the months went on, I was like, okay, this will be cool. This will be a great machine. It'll be powerful. My games will look great. But in terms of like Xbox as a company as a whole, like before we saw their roadmap and like what they were doing with these studios, it was kind of hard to be super optimistic because
let me put fuel in here.
Saying one thing and doing one thing are completely different things, as we've learned the hard way.
Yeah, I mean, when Halo was delayed, I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Oh like this, no! Please, yeah,
no. This is. I mean, and you can't live on Halo alone. And there's already been, Halo has been a big thing that's been on the Xbox. And it's all it's the biggest they delivered through the generation was Halo and Gears and Forza. And so like we were going to start off with another Halo, and I'm like, well, the Halo's got to be great. But now that I've looked at all the other games they have, plus this Bethesda take, holy smokes,
dude! Yeah, we're starting to get to the point where Halo is not the most exciting thing about Xbox anymore, which is awesome.
And that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
That is a good thing.
I love Halo. I have played through every Halo several times. So nothing against Halo, but it is awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
Halo is not the most exciting thing about Xbox. There's a lot more to be excited about. Pizza break. Oh, we got dead time in here. We got how many? We got 250. Dang.
Nice.
Not bad for an episode 4. Thanks for hanging out on this fine Saturday morning, evening, afternoon. We're Windows Central Gaming worldwide over here.
Yeah, international. It's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool to hear from people all over the planet. I don't know. I just think it's so great to hear people all over the world that are excited about Xbox and watching the content, watching and reading your site and watching your videos. You guys are up 10,000 subscribers. It's really fantastic.
It's been awesome to see. It's been kind of a side hustle for a little bit for us, the video, because we're basically in the process of trying to convince
we're
trying to convince our parent company that the Windows Central Gaming video site needs to be something that they invest in more heavily.
Yeah.
And so that's what we've been working towards. I've been doing everything remote. So I've been recording and doing everything from my house and my computer. So that being said, I think we've been able to make some pretty solid, well-produced. Oh my God!
Oh, we will be okay.
Oh,
we will be okay.
Okay, we good.
Forward, I think.
We good. It's all...
Oh my gosh! No high center.
Oh no, we're okay. He's got big old wheels.
Oh, you are the man. That is awesome. That was beautiful.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry for the Windows chime.
It's really cool to build something like that.
Yeah, it's been super fun, and the response to a lot of the stuff has been pretty great. So I'm stoked. Like you talked about a little bit, my background is kind of voiceover work. I did commercial voiceover in Seattle when I lived out there. I actually I studied.
I'm in Washington, by the way.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah, you know that. I don't know if I told you.
I know you're PT, but yeah, Washington. Awesome. Yeah. I'm from Seattle. I lived there most of my life.
Oh, cool.
So I studied.
What part of Seattle did you live in?
I lived in Ballard, specifically.
Okay.
Yeah. So I studied with Scott Burns, who was a voiceover actor who did a lot of video game stuff. He was in a bunch of stuff, Halo, but his biggest claim to fame was the voice of Bowser for the kind of GameCube era of Mario.
Well, that's cool.
So I worked with him for a bit, worked for his production company doing like commercial radio voiceover. And then I ran a little Xbox gaming site for a bit. And then got detoured as well for about 4 years. And I became a territory manager for a alcohol distribution company, which is fascinating.
I mean, even that title sounds fascinating.
So it was a big boy job, and I was making a lot of money, which was nice, and that's the main reason I was doing it. But then I was like, you know what? I don't want to be doing something only for the money. So I was like, I need to get back into what I want to do. So I started making some video content, and then just kind of more seriously reaching out to people who, I had kind of talked to and respected in the industry, and said like, hey, this is my background, this is my experience. You have a fit for me right now. So I reached out to Jez actually, and applied for a completely unrelated position. It was going to be like a Pokemon writing position. I'm a big Pokemon fan. They saw my resume and they're like, do you want to do videos for us? And I was like, yeah, absolutely.
That's crazy.
And so the rest just so far is history, but it's been awesome. So I've been kind of just grinding that out. Jez and I doing that, working hard to make that like a viable thing business wise, because we do work for Future, which is a massive publication. They own tons of websites. So the goal right now is to get your boy a salaried gig, because I'm just freelance right now.
So you get paid per write-up or video? Or...
Exactly. Yep. It's all on a per project basis.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, it's crazy when you talk about voiceover work. It was something that I always thought I could do. I could narrate or I could do voiceover stuff for videos. Like I've tried, but it took a long time to find my own voice on a microphone.
Yeah,
and it's not just
it's a
I'm going to
process.
talk on a mic.
Just, hey guys,
it is really intensive.
Yeah, you got to kind of figure out like, I don't know, your cadence, your tone, like what your style is, and like I get that same comment on videos too, like, oh, this sounds like an ad. Like, were you paid to make this video? And I was like, no.
I get that all the time.
No, I'm not.
All
like,
the time.
I would legally have to disclose if I was paid. Like, I'm sorry that I put a lot of work and time into editing these videos and making sure that the script that I write is like well written. And I think
people on I get that too, because people are like, this is a 12-minute Xbox ad. Like, yeah, I just talked professionally about how the Xbox is doing some cool stuff, but I think people are used to YouTube personalities getting on a mic and just freestyle, just, hey, what's up, everybody? So today we're going to talk about and this is really cool. And like, there's some people that have really great presence on a mic, but they're just on the mic talking off the top of their head, and they'll back. I don't like to circle back around and talk about something I already talked about, so I write out everything I'm going to say, make sure I'm covering all the bases, and I don't have to think off the top of my head, hey, what was that number associated with this subject I'm talking about? Yeah. So when we make content that comes off super professional, people are like, this is an ad and you were paid to do this. Like, well, I would hope to be paid for my work.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's the goal, is to work and get money for it. But yeah, that style's fine. It's not really a style that I resonate with. The just kind of like free form, off the cuff talking for like 15 minutes. I prefer.
I tried it.
I prefer people and videos that kind of respect my time, and so that's why the videos that I make are generally like under 10 minutes, which is it's against the YouTube algorithm. Like, they want me to do 10-minute videos and kind of drag things out, but I would rather have a pretty tight, produced video that's shorter than kind of just get in front of a mic and ramble. That's why I like podcasts, because I can ramble. I like to ramble about Xbox related things for a while, but I understand that that's not like, people don't always have the time. Like, I don't always have 20 minutes to listen to somebody talk about the new Xbox dashboard.
Yeah, I used to do content. My channel started taking off in 2017, but just before that, like the year before, I was really hustling, trying to get my YouTube channel going, and I would just turn on my mic and record myself talking, and I would cover all the stuff that I knew, and the videos were longer, and it would be considered rambling, really, and they just didn't do very well because people don't want to hear you go in circles and try to come up with your thoughts. Sometimes people are there to get the information and get out.
True. But, yeah, that's just me personally, as like someone who does watch a lot of YouTube. Like, I know when you're just fluffing, all right? I know when you're just padding time out, and I'm too old for that shit, son.
Yeah, I mean, people will say to me like, "When's this guy going to get to the point?" It's like, whoa. I'm trying to be concise. I'll give anybody who wants to do YouTube content the advice of when you're on the mic, every word needs to be enunciated and just it's really hard. Like when I had a voiceover guy that I worked with. That I work with at my regular job, and he does a bunch of voiceover stuff for the video work he does. And he was trying to train me. He's like, just slow down.
Yeah, that's the
He's like,
biggest thing is like talk
you gotta
way
slow down
slower
before
than
can
you
speed up.
normally would. Like when you're recording, just make it a point to talk a lot slower than you actually would to your friends, because it makes a big difference when it comes to enunciation and like saying the words properly. And
Yeah, the word isn't recording. It's not recording. It's recording.
recording.
And you're on a really nice mic. Like, you need to give every word it's due. And he taught me. I recorded a 30-second spot for my channel. Like, hi, I'm Colteastwood. I do this kind of content. I provide this information about Xbox and gaming and stuff to my channel. Blah blah blah. I wrote this little 30-second script and
This
I
your
recorded
boy
the
Colt?
voiceover. And yeah, it was my professional 30-second spot. Like, welcome to the Colteastwood Gaming Channel. I create gaming content for blah. The thing's long gone, but I sent him the 30-second voiceover, and he goes, all right, do it again. And I did it again. He goes, all right, do it again, but slow down. Fix this. You slurred over this word. Do it again. I recorded again. Sent it to him. He's like, do it again. And in 5 or 6 tries, I learned so much. And it's where I started to find my voice. Like, I need to quit saying, my favorite was I say the word assign all the time.
Assign instead of what?
Design.
Oh,
like when
okay,
I say a game design,
game design.
I will say it so fast. I'll say when they work on the game design, and then when I listen to it in the waveform on audio,
Sounds so
sound like I'm saying design. Because we're so lazy in the way we talk. But when you hear a great voiceover guy or a great voiceover girl, like, they are enunciating and they're nailing every syllable, and it's what makes it punchy. But people didn't come on here to hear that lesson.
No, yeah.
It's really good stuff.
For the aspiring voiceover artists in here, there's some tips for you. Dead Time says, you mean you don't want to rant for 2 minutes and hint on what the video is about before talking for 8 minutes to get to the point? Exactly. No, I get it. It's the YouTube algorithm, and that's what they want, and you got to get the watch time, and you got to hit X percentage of watch time per video, and so that's the sort of tricks that people do. But you got to make the words count. You got to respect the viewer's time. That's my number one mission with every video.
There are things that it can take 2 minutes to get into the meat of my videos, because I have to do back. I have to do back stuff, like, because I get so many people that jump in and go, well, why is this? Why didn't they just do that? It's like, well, that's why I explained, like, they didn't have first party games. They weren't delivering exclusives. The exclusives they did have weren't new IPs, or, like, that backstory is important, because not everybody who watches my videos, like 75% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribers.
Yeah, that's just the reality.
It's crazy.
Of it. Like, the percentage of subscribers that watch, if you're hitting 20%, you're a god. You're a god on YouTube.
Yeah. And it was funny, my video was 17 or 18 minutes yesterday, and YouTube told me that people are watching it longer than normal. So the average watch time is 7.5 minutes. So the majority of the people are out of there before a quarter of the video is done.
Yeah, that's just kind of the reality. I mean, I get it. Like, I'm guilty of it too. I'll watch a video for a few minutes, like, I get this. Cool, I'm moving on.
Yeah, I get it.
We all have a short attention span, so it's it's important to look at the metrics, but some people obsess about it in a way that hurts the quality of their videos. Which,
yeah.
Anyway, YouTuber talk.
Yep, it's good stuff though.
So what time? We got 11:46. So I'm going to open it up to questions from the audience. Everyone watching here. We got 210 people here. Appreciate you guys hanging out on a Saturday.
Yeah,
but let's take some questions. We want to hear from you guys. What do you want to hear? Like I said, if you want any information on the Falconer or the Medium specifically, I do have a lot of details on those for unreleased stuff, but we're open for anything. Floodgates are open.
Well, let's see. I always skip the Colt's first 5 minutes and play it 2 times speed. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I've actually done that. I've watched my videos and I'm like, yeah. It's like, oh my gosh.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to do. But I get it. When you're a busy person trying to suck up all the information you can, sometimes you just gotta double time it. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. One question here from Harpyrdon said, do you guys think Microsoft will make a deal with esports to advertise low latency and high frame rates? I don't know. A lot of esports games are run on PC, and mouse and keyboard. So they're already experiencing low latency and high frame rates.
Exactly. So that's going to be a big selling point for the console side on Xbox, like pushing 120 FPS on a lot more games, and their controller having that kind of wireless low latency technology. So I could see that being a good fit for esports players who want something a little more convenient. I don't know if they'll necessarily advertise it outside of like a game by game basis. Gears specifically, I think, will lean into that heavily, saying like, hey, Gears 5, the competitive scene now can play on console because we support low latency and 120 FPS.
There's a lot of questions here.
When is the next installment of Gamer ASMR?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about
this. Series X.
Hey, welcome to Gamer ASMR.
And then you have the clicking of the controller. Someone asked about the remaster of GTA 5. I've never heard anything about that. I don't know why they didn't even enhance it. They've got the lifespan of GTA Online and the money they bring in is so huge. I don't understand why they didn't. If they would have enhanced it on the Xbox One X and PS4 Pro, it would have boosted sales even higher than they already are. I just feel like Rockstar looks at that and says, we're making a ton of money. We don't need to do anything. And I think that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. I would love to see
But Xbox
and
like PlayStation says it's definitely getting a remaster. I just haven't heard that.
Well, PlayStation had the advertisement for the PlayStation 5 remaster. There was a trailer for it.
Well, it was for GTA 5 coming to next gen with GTA Online, but did they say it was remastered?
I mean, I
guess
they kind of implied that you'd have to buy it again. That was my assumption from watching that. I don't know. I guess they didn't explicitly say like you will, but the fact that they had a trailer as part of one of their main sizzle reels kind of gave me that impression. And with the way they rolled out Spider-Man, it doesn't give me a lot of confidence that a third-party game is going to be free, but
I think I blanked that out because I already bought it on 360. I bought it on Xbox One. I bought it on PC. And when they started talking about GTA 5 again, I didn't even think of a remaster. I just thought, why would I even? I don't know. It's like, why didn't they just enhance it? But I didn't think about that.
Yeah, they opened their next-gen event with that, which was odd. It was weird. And then Assassin, what specifically do you want to know about the medium? Hit me with a specific question. I could just talk for like 30 minutes about the medium. I won't.
Somebody asked about VR and Xbox. It's not happening.
Yeah, no. They're not making their own headset in any capacity.
Yeah, and they're not going to support VR on the Xbox consoles. And one of the main reasons is Phil doesn't want the team building the dashboard to integrate VR when they need to get the dashboard at full capacity for what it is now.
Yeah, which has been an ongoing process.
Yeah, and you have to make the dashboard ready to come in and out of a VR headset, and it's not just something you can just turn on and hope it works. Xbox wants everything to be cohesive, but I think this is me personally. I think personally Phil looks at VR and looks at the money that it generates, and it doesn't seem like a worthwhile investment. 4 to 5% of the PS4 owners are using PSVR, so it's not a viable platform yet. In its I think that's why he says it needs to be fully powered and wireless, and that's just not available yet.
I could see later on, once we've gotten like the Quest 3 or 4, where the convenience factor is there. And it's something that can easily be a supplemental thing as opposed to this huge investment for the average person. Because, what a lot of people don't realize is the Kinect install base was a lot higher than the VR install base. And that was not considered
Oh
a
my
success.
gosh.
So that's why Xbox is not that interested in integrating that. It's a lot of extra work for them for probably not a lot of return from a strictly business standpoint. And then Assassin, when is Medium releasing? Holiday 2020. We don't have a date. No official date. My guess is early December. Not a launch title, but before the end of the year.
So you said that they are able to get the game on next generation console and the Series S, even though it is, a third of the power, they're able to do what they want on that game.
They said, yeah, they
I think we
literally,
talked
because
about
I asked
earlier.
them point blank, like, what was it like developing for the Xbox Series X? And does the Series S hold back next gen gaming? Was the question that I asked specifically. And they went into the details about how they had the idea for a long time and were unable to achieve this idea on previous hardware. So this was the first time since the inception of the idea 10 years ago that they're able to kind of deliver on this. And they said that the only real downside when it comes to developing for the Series S is resolution for them. So they said scalability is super simple because it's really, at the end of the day, mostly just a resolution slider. And they did kind of briefly touch on some kind of like background shortcuts that they might have to take. But he said, the game's producer said that overall optimization is simple and tied heavily to just resolution alone.
It's just weird when you hear people worried about developing for a Series S when they've been scaling down to smaller GPUs forever. And game design is people worry about game design because they're afraid that lower end hardware is going to hold back the potential of how big and imaginative a game can be. But we've seen amazing games running on Xbox 360 and PS3. Like, I think that developers, when they set out to make a really incredible game or make any game, they have a certain scope. They know the parameters they have to work in because there are high-end PCs and there's minimum spec PC, and then there's super powerful or super popular consoles. So they're not worried about hardware holding them back. They're worried about the budget they have of what they can create in 3 to 5 years, and the budget of who they have to work with and the talent and the resource available to them, and not just a budget of money.
Mm-hmm.
They just know they want to make something great. When they set out to make God of War on the PS4, like they wanted to make this amazing game. I don't think they were worried about if the hardware was going to hold them back. You can't make a game absolutely massive in scope across an entire planet if that's not what you want to serve your game. So I think people worrying about design, I think they're just making up something they thought would be a problem.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's hard to explain that.
It really is. And a lot of those critiques are coming from people who really have no idea how game development even works, which is also frustrating. Mm-hmm. They're just commenting on it to have some sort of negative spin on information that they see. But yeah, if you have a vision for a game, it starts like, look at Sea of Thieves. Look at early Sea of Thieves development. It's the most hilarious stuff you'll ever see. It looks like VeggieTales. It looks like super low budget VeggieTales, like literal like tomato and like cucumber shaped characters, just like in like the worst graphics. Was
Randall Tomato in it?
Randall Tomato was not yet conceived, but character? He's going to be DLC. I think it's
it's funny.
But you look at that game, like fundamentally, they had an idea, and the base idea was super primitive, super basic, and they were able to scale that basic idea into something fully fleshed out. So if you have a strong idea, you can make it happen. You'll have to maybe adjust some things here and there, but fundamentally, especially with these new consoles, I don't think the Series S is going to hold anything major back. You're going to have to play your games at maybe 1080p, 120 FPS versus like 4K, 120 FPS.
Well, it's a $300 box.
Exactly.
Mikey Barrow was in our chat, and he doesn't work at Xbox anymore, but he said you can't get a $300 PC that will run a game at 1080p, 120 frames. Like, there's no way.
No way. Not even close.
And there was a guy on Twitter that just upsets people about gaming stuff that relates to Xbox. But he was zooming in on the crowd whizzing by in Dirt 5 at 120 frames on a $300 Xbox Series X, trying to discount what that box is capable of.
Yeah, and
And
sure,
it's
you
just
can freeze frame
amazing.
and zoom in on like background details and be like, "Oh, this guy has face has low textures." I'm like, "Okay, cool." Like, are
Go
you gonna?
grab a $300 GPU, like just a $300 GPU, and try and get Dirt 5 running at 120, and tell me what it looks like. It'll probably look the same. It's just people are crazy.
Yeah, it's
Um,
funny. All right, so Binyabik asks, do you think Xbox will copy the adaptive controller features for or during the generation? Do you know if we can program adjust the share button and what it does? Um, all of their stuff is going to be backwards compatible. So the adaptive controllers, from what I understand, will work. And if you go on the Xbox Now in the settings, you can actually fully remap your controller, even like a standard controller if you want to.
yeah.
So that won't be an issue. I don't know off the top of my head how many buttons are possible on the adaptive controller. You will absolutely be able to remap a share button to any button you want. Even they said even on your standard Xbox controller,
Oh, I've never thought about that.
you can remap one of the buttons to the share button if you want.
Okay, that's cool.
What else do we got here? Do you guys know if Diablo 3 can be played on the Series X and S? It can via backwards compatibility.
Yep. And it'll be 4K 60,
Ooh,
like it is on the Xbox One X if you have a Series X. I don't know what the S version will do.
Yeah, it's
We'll have to
probably
see.
1440p 60. Does that game have dynamic scaling or is it locked? That's the tricky part about backwards compatibility right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the part we don't know about. Because if a game has dynamic resolution, it should be able to scale up automatically.
Absolutely. Colteastwood, will Xbox do a showcase or event from now till launch? I would assume they would to take advantage of Sony continuously not telling, showing anything, and dropping the ball.
Ooh. Okay, so I don't know if they're going to do a showcase, but Miles said earlier in the chat that there was a sneaky little hint
Conspiracy theory time.
Yep. Put on your tinfoil hat. So that XO20 is a possibility as a streamed event to showcase some stuff. We also know that the initiative was supposed to show their Perfect Dark Universe type game.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's
I could
something that
see
they
that
want to
definitely being
bundle into their next event.
an end of year kind of like big wow moment. Like what I want to see is XO20 basically come out like the week of the launch of the Series X. Like I think that would be a really kind of cool, fun way to be like, hey, welcome to the Xbox family. You got your Xbox. Here's all these awesome games in Game Pass, and then here is a showcase of what Xbox is going to look like in the future for you. Like, welcome to the family. Here's what you should be excited about, and hit us with some more trailers. And hopefully, I wouldn't expect more than 1 or 2 announcements, but
yeah, they need to do something like that. They need to do an XO event. The last one was really good. Yeah.
the last one was awesome. Like the last XO event was great. Like that was the start of for me of like the hype of the Xbox Series X, and the next kind of like chapter of Xbox was the last XO event. That was like really the kickoff of like Xbox wants to show you why they are going to be the place to play.
Yes. Xbox and PlayStation said, Colt, did you in all caps, Colt, did you receive your YouTube plaque yet?
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I got it a couple months ago, and it's hanging on my wall with just hanging on my wall. I don't know. I kind of looked online to see if any companies sold like a shadow box to put that in, because it comes with a signed letter that says, you hit a nice watermark moment and the plaque is there. Like I want something I can put them side by side. So yeah, it's really
100K,
nice.
right?
It's really cool. For 100K, yep.
Yeah, congrats, dude. That's
and then
awesome.
they gave me a check mark. Luke Cobby says, "Oh, he said I blocked him on Twitter. I could have blocked him by accident, but that happens sometimes." But Colt flexing, Hazardor's great.
Hazardor's a legend. We went from Xbox has no games for years to Xbox has too many games. Well,
I've been hearing that a lot
kind of
too.
true. It's going to be impossible. Like with Game Pass and the way that they are rolling stuff out, there's going to be probably not this year, not 2021, but by 2022, we'll probably have a big-ish game like every single month. Pass, which bonkers.
Oh, I know. I think that I'm sorry, trying to type here. I think that they really are going to have so many games. Like to try and put I need to update this roadmap graphic that I put out last year, because they have 23 studios, and each of these studios are making games every 3 to 5 years. And if you just try and imagine that grid running across the generation, it's going to be loaded with games.
It's gonna be stacked, and that doesn't count like the global kind of partner deals that they're gonna kind of use.
Yeah,
to
global
fill
publishing
those.
is going to grab a game or two per year as well.
Mhm.
Like Tell Me Why. I don't know what else global publishing put out this year besides Tell Me Why.
I think Ori. Yeah, Ori was factored into
Yeah,
that.
Ori's one of them. Yeah.
All right, what other questions do we got here? Oh yeah, they're saying try Hobby Lobby, Colt, if you want to look for a shadow.
And I will. That's the thing. Like I got this thing, and I don't go out shopping just for the heck of it. And I thought, oh, I should go to Hobby. Psychonaut said that it was a great. He's thinking the same thing I am. I was like, oh, I should go to Hobby Lobby and see what they have. But I usually just don't go out shopping for stuff very much because I'm wearing a mask. I'm in Washington State, and people in Washington haven't got their stuff together. Like the COVID cases are higher than normal.
Yeah, I just left California, and it was a nightmare.
Crap show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Colteastwood, last question or inquiry. After ZeniMax, we definitely know Xbox has more secrets to drop because no one saw that coming. By the way, what is that big non-game acquisition? Yeah, there was a rumor about Xbox acquiring something that wasn't a studio, and like people thought, oh, are they going to grab a big third-party game and put it in Game Pass day and day? I don't know. I haven't heard anything more on that.
I haven't heard anything specific. I think some wires kind of got crossed. I think that was honestly related to the TikTok possibility.
TikTok. What was that TikTok thing anyway?
Microsoft was just looking at acquiring TikTok. That was kind of the short and sweet of it. They were looking at that as like a potential way to expand their, because Microsoft doesn't really have any social platforms as it stands. So I think that was just kind of them testing the waters of having their own dedicated social platform. It didn't really work out as we found out, but yes, I think that's really what a lot of people were talking about when they were saying, oh, Microsoft's talking about doing a big non-game or non-studio acquisition. I think that's kind of where people were getting that information, because I haven't heard any other possibilities. But I also hadn't heard about the ZeniMax thing, so who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, that was. I mean, we talked about the ZeniMax thing for a little while, but that was a long thing in the works.
Yeah, the deals like that don't happen even in like a matter of months. Like that was in the works for a while. So the fact that that stayed totally radio silent up until like I think it was maybe an hour or two before launch, people revealed that people started getting like the information for it. But yeah, that was a big old surprise in the industry. How long do these showcases take to plan or make? I would say for Xbox, a while. Xbox plans these events for months and months. Xbox they're very corporate. So there's a lot of things that need to be signed off by a lot of different people before these get approved. So they're big, and it takes them a long time to do this. So they're kind of old-fashioned in the way that they produce things. So that's why their video stuff hasn't adapted as well to work from home. And that's why only until recently did we start seeing more videos from them, because they were able to get a small selection of people safely in their like studio spaces to record. But yeah, these events take a long time, months and months. I think the last one, the July event, like pre-planning started like 6 months before the event.
Yeah, I've heard them say that after E3 wraps, I know they're busy all year long, but at Xbox they kind of take the Christmas time, like all of December. A lot of people go home and just take the rest of the year off because they wrap the big holiday. So I'm pretty sure that they start planning E3 in January. And I work in one of my jobs. We do a yearly big event too for outreach, and they always start talking about that September event. They start talking in January, February, and you just kind of slowly build up.
Yeah.
So
That's yeah. These things do take a lot of time to plan, and that's kind of why it's been hard for them to be as consistent during the COVID stuff, and that's why I think ultimately that's why they ended up canceling the the Xbox 2020 program, where they're originally going to have basically like something every month to show, and I think that just kind of became impossible for them. But super chat hype from Psychonauts 8. Maybe every Sega game in Game Pass announcement. I was hoping for that,
jeez.
but no, that would have happened at TGS if we were going to get that this year. Not saying that's impossible
Yeah.
down the road,
Yeah.
but if that was going to happen this year, it would have been at TGS, because that would have been like, hey, Japan, folks, this is a reason to buy the Xbox in Japan, because we get every single Sega game in Game Pass day one. So we definitely would have seen that already. Unfortunately,
Xbox is doing great in Japan right now, like they've never done before.
that's awesome to see, because they've historically struggled pretty hard in Japan. So to see the Xbox both SKUs sell out in like I think it was 25 minutes in Japan was awesome. That was that's crazy for them. So obviously the X Cloud and obviously the Game Pass stuff is getting out there, and people are starting to see the value, because it's pretty hard to deny that value when you look at buying a PS5 and one game. If you buy the disc edition, you're looking at $570, $600 after tax for a PlayStation and a game. You compare that to, like, obviously you can look at the PS Plus stuff, which includes about 19 games. So just so we're a little fair on that. But if you bought an Xbox Series X and 1 month of Game Pass Ultimate, you'd have like 350 games right out of the box for $15. So it's pretty impossible to deny that value, even if you have some qualms about video game ownership.
Yeah. Assassin Lupa said, why does Xbox keep hiring non-Xbox people to do their shows instead of someone who cares about Xbox? She's referring to Jeff Keighley's
where
showcase.
people only use their Xbox for Netflix. That crowd. Yeah.
I don't. This is one of my gripes with Xbox. I think they reached out to Jeff Keighley and said, hey, we'd like you to do the pre-show. And he said, great. And then they just let him loose. And that's okay, because Jeff has like a really big experience, large experience in the gaming industry. Mm-hmm. So he's trustworthy, but I think Jeff grabbed the wrong people, and maybe he didn't realize it, but he had 3 people just don't play on the Xbox at all and know very little about it. And it's kind of hard to get an exciting topic or discussion pre-show with people that don't really play on the platform very much. That was a big miss.
Yeah, I don't think people like try to villainize Jeff a little bit in the Xbox community, because he prefers PlayStation. That's obvious. I get it. I don't think he has ill intentions when it comes to Xbox, and I don't think he set out to get people who were just going to be on live broadcast and say that they only use their Xbox for Netflix. I don't think that's what he wanted or was hoping would happen. I think he just got some big names, because obviously Jacksepticeye is a big name, has a big audience. People are going to tune in.
Yep.
So I think
he obviously doesn't play on Xbox though.
Yeah. Well, he said he wants a reason to play his Xbox or something to that effect.
Yeah, weird. And he said that he said that he uses it for everything. Well, his statement, this is my gripe, is he was so unaware that what he said was so offensive to Xbox. I mean, offensive as far as for diehard fans. His statement was, I literally do everything on my Xbox One except for play games.
Yeah, I was like, what? Why would you say that before the Xbox showcase? Like,
I mean, bro, you can buy a Roku, or your TV for his TV for probably 4 or 5 years has done everything. that he claimed he did on his Xbox.
Yeah,
So
that hurt to hear. I was like, bruh.
Yeah, it hurt to hear because he didn't realize that he was telling a little white lie, but he thought he was talking. He thought he was complimenting the Xbox.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't use his Xbox One. I learned that day.
He basically talking about how like, oh, the hardware's great. I want to use it, but Xbox has no games. Is basically what he said.
Yeah, I mean, to say he does Hulu, Netflix, and Amazon Prime and everything on his Xbox One, I don't think he does. I think he uses his PS4 or his smart TV.
Yeah.
But he was just trying to bring Xbox in the conversation, but he doesn't. And it's okay. He doesn't use the Xbox. That's fine. But Jeff brought him on, and he couldn't even speak on the platform because he doesn't use it.
Yeah, like he didn't have any sort of insights or details or anything to talk about.
And I don't feel bad for Xbox. I'm saying that because I feel bad for him because he stepped out there on a pile of dog doo-doo and said something that just didn't
resonate with the audience that was going to be watching that showcase.
I honestly felt bad for him because I was like, whoa.
Yeah, he didn't. Because it didn't seem like he was trying to be negative. He was just like making a quick little aside, and
Yep.
did not resonate with anyone who was watching that show. All right, what do we got here? We got all caps. PS5 664 gigabytes after OS thoughts.
Oh yeah.
Thoughts on the story.
What was that number again?
664 gigabytes is how much the PS5 is going to have. When it comes to system memory, are they including Astro Boy in that though? Because Astro Boy is pre-installed, so I can't remember if that includes Astro Boy or if that's before Astro Boy.
I'm not sure. I'd have to look at that post, which I can't find it right now. That game can only be about 40 gigs. It's not much bigger than that.
Yeah, they said the game itself is 24 gigs. So
there you go.
We have those specifics, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, system memory takes up a lot of space, and clearly Sony had to make some adjustments to get the cost lower, and that's why they have a weird, instead of 1 terabyte, they have the 825 gigabyte drive, which
this says Astro's Playroom 2, 4 gigabytes. So it's either 24 gigs or he meant to write 2.4 gigs.
2.4 gigs? Okay. Well, then that's nothing.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how. I need to hear these things from somebody that I hear things I trust. When I post stuff or when I put stuff in my videos, it's because I heard it from somebody who's been right almost every time. And people are like, why are you making that claim? It's like, well, I'll stand on that one.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't spout things out as truth until you have some sort of concrete information on it. Binyabik says it's 664 or 3 Call of Duties, which is sad but true.
Yeah.
Sad but true.
Also, the smart delivery and the Xbox Series consoles will let you uninstall parts of games that you're not using. It'll even prompt you if you're not using parts of a game, saying you don't use this very frequently. Would you like to uninstall this portion of the game? And you can reduce the size of, like, let's say, this isn't very likely, but let's say you're a big Call of Duty fan. You buy Call of Duty Cold War, but you never bother with the multiplayer. You can install that, but vice versa, more likely, I don't ever play the campaign. Who cares? Install the campaign.
I mean, you look at examples like Crackdown 3.
I already played it. It
was kind of the first test of that. Is like, hey, like we can, maybe some people only want to play the campaign, some people only want to play the multiplayer. So it'll be nice if that kind of becomes standard. You have these segmented experiences, so you don't have to have 140 gigs taken up by Call of Duty if you only play Warzone.
Yeah. Or if you did the 6 or 8 hour campaign and you're pretty sure you won't play it again, but if you do, you can re-download it, uninstall the campaign, and save room for Astro Boy. They're saying in here 2.4 gigs.
Okay.
For Astro Boy, which is really small.
That is really
that's
small.
like an indie-sized game. Like when you download an ID at Xbox game, that's that small.
So it's 664.
That's crazy.
With Astro Boy removed, says Coin. Either way, roughly it's about 660 some gigs is what you get to work with.
Yeah, there was somebody that was pushing that the operating system of the PS5 was so light and agile that it'll only take like 80 gigs off of that storage, and so that it'll be
No.
more than the Series X. I'm like, I don't think so.
I don't know. Clearly,
I don't
that's
think so.
been proven to be untrue.
Yeah. What other deep burning questions?
Yeah, what
are
other
on here?
deep philosophy? We got anything deep? All right. Got somebody saying Jeff's a fanboy.
Yeah, and I wrote in the chat, Jeff is exactly like me. He loves PlayStation like I love Xbox. But
yeah, I don't hate Jeff. I don't think it's fair that people hate Jeff. Obviously, he has a bias, and we talked about this a bit in the last episode.
Like everyone does.
It's fine. Yeah, people need to like throw away this idea that having a bias means you cannot talk about something else or be excited or interested in anything else. If you're not all in on one thing, then you don't have a right to talk about something else, because that's insane. That's such an insane mentality to have.
Yeah, and Jeff Keighley, maybe he doesn't get excited about Xbox because their generation was, didn't live up to what the PlayStation did.
Yeah.
So, and
that's fair to say.
If you played through only the exclusives on Xbox One, it was hit or miss, and there was a lot of hits on PlayStation more than their misses.
Mm-hmm.
So when he has to get up in front of a camera and be excited about Xbox, and he doesn't know what their next move is, it's hard to be excited. But when you see what they've been doing since 2018, building up game studios and then acquiring Bethesda, is like, holy crap, you can't really deny it any longer. Xbox is not going to sit down and let the competition run away. Xbox won't outsell PlayStation, but it'll be one of those generations where both consoles sell like crazy. People are excited, and it's okay to be excited.
Yeah, that's fine.
Please do.
You can like one thing without hating the other. That's fine. That's okay. That's actually very healthy. Very healthy place to be when you can like something and not hate something else. That's fine. Please, more people need to understand that that's okay. Because it's Twitter this year in particular, due to a combination of a lot of things, I think has just been an absolute dumpster fire when it comes to very aggressive and hostile console warriors.
Yeah, and that's why I block a lot of people. Some people say Colt will just block you if you don't agree with them. It's like, no, I see people being jerks, and I just block them because I just don't have time for that. Here's a really good question. Someone said, with all these 23 studios, this is from LX Chipmunk or IX Chipmunk 101 XL. That's what it is. Chipmunk 101 says, with all these 23 studios, will staff be able to move around through all these studios? I don't think so, but what I do predict is that these studios will be able to collaborate in their own ways, and possibly now Obsidian has the golden ticket to create a Fallout spin-off, because they no longer have to ask for permission from Bethesda. They can just go talk to them and say, hey, can we do this? And they're no longer in competition with each other, so to speak. So I would like to see Obsidian build a Fallout 4 spin-off with that engine before Fallout 5 is ready. That would be a dream come true for me.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Xbox likes the team synergy, and they've talked about how when they're picking up these teams, they want teams that have good chemistry and have put out multiple games together, because that shows a lot of like sense of identity and kind of, passion for what they're working on. I do think we'll start to see teams borrow other people's IP, though. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility at all. I think we'll start to see some crossovers where maybe Double Fine makes a Banjo game, but
Thank you for laughing.
I'm just trying to will things into existence,
I give the community such a hard time. I am all for everything and anything, but I give the community a hard time about Banjo not ever coming to existence.
It's depressing.
It's kind of an infamous thing.
I want it to happen just for the fans. Like, I'm not even a big Banjo fan, but like the amount of people like banging on doors to get Banjo and haven't had it, it's depressing. Honestly, it's a little sad.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really care if it
give them a
happens
hard
one way or
time.
another, but come on, Banjo's in Smash.
Well,
like let's use a little momentum to like give fans, even if it's like a Battletoads scale game, like give them something, please.
Battletoads had some fun moments in it, but I give them a hard time because I said Xbox needs to deliver mature big story-driven games first, and then they can bring Banjo back. Like, that's my big argument. But when I made this video yesterday, I realized, geez, they've got like 6 or 7 horror games I wouldn't even let my kids watch me play. Like, they've got a lot of mature games now, a lot of big shooters and a lot of horror like thrillers, and it's really, I mean, I guess maybe Banjo can go in the works with my permission.
Colt has given his approval. Banjo may proceed.
Yes, you can start building Banjo. I just didn't want Xbox to come out and say Banjo-Kazooie reboot, and we haven't even seen like what the initiative is building or something big from game studios. Like, it would basically, because in my eyes it would go from Super Lucky's Tale and a bunch of Halo Gears and Forza, and then Banjo comes out before Xbox gets their coup de grace, you know.
What about Super Lucky's Tale cross Banjo? You in for that?
Well, I mean, that team could make it, but my gripe is Platonics exists, and it's a bunch of people that used to make Banjo-Kazooie, and they have ukulele. And I ask a lot of these fans, I'm like, you know, how much of ukulele you played? Not much. I'm like, why? It's the exact game.
It's
with a different name.
Exactly. It's the game you've been wanting, but not Banjo.
I mean,
and I think
even
that's
the name, like it's somebody trying to rip off. They're basically trying to bring back Banjo-Kazooie without using the exact IP, because the name is identical. It's a creature with a little flying companion. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the exact same game, but Banjo-Kazooie fans aren't always fans of ukulele, so they want the bird and the bear. And
that's the power of IP. Like, that's again, like, you can make games that are technically better, that are the same genre, almost the same game, but if it's not the same IP, people won't gravitate towards it. Pong Soul asks, do you think the ray tracing we see on Spider-Man is similar to what we will see on the Series X?
No.
Do you think the Series X will be better? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, this is going to be a hot button item. There are more ray tracing cores, I presume, in the Series X over the PS5. So
I think that's
today we learned that Spider-Man is using 1/4 resolution in Reflections, and anybody who games on PC would do the same thing.
It's demanding. It's super demanding.
It's demanding.
Yeah.
So if you want the game to look great, but reflection, shadows, that's where I always bring down the settings. I'll put stuff high and I'll go into shadows and reflections, because that's stuff you don't watch as often. I'll bring that down to medium to make sure I hit 60. But what we're looking at is a 1/4 resolution of ray tracing in reflections, quality, and detail to hit dynamic 4K 30. So I'll play Spider-Man Remaster at 60 frames, no ray tracing, because that performance means more to me than real-time reflections, because we played Spider-Man with screen space reflections, which is faked in, and the game was still fun and great. So I think we're going to see side-by-side multi-plat comparisons from Digital Foundry.
I'm excited.
Showing the Xbox Series X. This is my prediction. The Xbox Series X will use half resolution scaling on reflections, and the PS5 will have to go down to 1/4. I think there'll be that jump.
You're quantifying.
I think there'll be.
Okay.
I am going to predict that whatever quality of reflections you see on the Series X, PlayStation 5 will have around half of that quality in reflection and ray tracing.
Bookmark it, folks.
Yeah, bookmark it. I also think that some multi-plats will use software-based ray tracing on the PS5, and Xbox may use hardware-based, and it'll be interesting to see what the performance delta is. If you software-based ray tracing is really demanding too, but if you don't have all the cores and all the power to do it, it's just going to be really interesting. Multiplats will not just be a resolution number any longer. They won't say, because typically with the PS4 Pro and the Xbox Series X, the resolution has been up to 2 times more on the One X. Sorry, there's that naming convention. The One X versus the Pro.
It is confusing, Colt.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know which one to buy. I'm gonna send my mom out to buy a console, see what she comes back with. So we used to see double the resolution on the One X compared to the Pro. I think we may see closer resolutions on the PS5 and Xbox Series X, but the ray tracing quality and the other texture qualities, those other things, they'll get down to that make the game look better will be looking better on the Series X.
Cool. I mean, I think that's safe to say. Like, looking at these numbers on paper, it's clear
Yep.
that unless there's just a fundamental kind of issue with the way the engine operates, the Series X, from a raw power standpoint, should deliver about 25-ish% better performance, generally speaking, than the PS5.
20 to 25%, I think, will be about what is in the high end. Xbox and PlayStation said, Colt, John Linneman said it will be the same. I really like John Linneman. I trust almost everything he says, or just everything he says. I really respect the guy.
Yeah.
But what we're looking at is a big difference in Xbox Series X is full RDNA 2, and I think that Digital Foundry is going to get their hands on the PS5 and realize that it is RDNA 2, but it's RDNA 1 with the RDNA 2 features. So there's going to be a difference why ray tracing and some of these other effects will be different looking on PS5 versus Xbox Series X.
Yeah, I think that'll be. I'm super excited to see those side by sides, because I think people are filling in a lot of gaps right now based on the information that they have and kind of making assumptions. But once we actually have the actual hardware in hand running these games, I think we'll see some drastic comparisons, because RDNA 2 in general just makes performance significantly more streamlined. Like, so that alone will free up a ton of processing power for background resources, textures, animations, etc.
Yes. John Linneman is his last name. Someone asked.
John Linneman from
Linneman.
Digital Foundry.
Digital Foundry. Yeah, and I watched Alex, particularly as, if I said that name right, Digital Foundry analysis this morning before this, of Spider-Man. Yeah, and the cool thing about Digital Foundry is they're not worried about console war. They're just happy that games look and feel amazing. And Alex is really excited that you can play this game at 60 frames, or you can play it at 30 and have ray tracing on a $400 or $500 console. Like, that's amazing. And these developers are working their butts off to give us this stuff that we love.
Exactly. It's a lot of work. We talked about Gears earlier and all the extra steps that they went through to make that game look and run the way that it does. You can take a game, you can build it for PC and just basically say, all right, guys, have a ridiculous rig if you want to play this game looking great. But it takes a lot of work from these devs to like take a moderately spec'd machine and make a game look and run amazing.
Yeah. Let's see, what else we got? There was something else I saw here. Do you think quick resume will work with physical games? I laugh when I hear this question. No, it will not work with physical games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to store the game state in the. Well, I mean, you'd think it could let you jump between one of them if the disc was in there, but the nature of the physical game installed on the hard drive, it's probably only relegated to digital games. So
I mean,
we're
that's
hearing
something...
you can have up to 12 games in there, depending on their size.
Yeah, because it's based on just the pool of data that they need to suspend that state. So 12 games at the same time. I don't know why you'd want to have that many games going at the same time. But
there are a few that I keep up. I go back and forth when I'm in party chat sometimes. I'll jump between 2 or 3 games, but it would be so cool if, like, I'm playing Mafia Definitive Edition right now, and if I played a bunch of different games and then I hadn't gone back to Mafia in a while and I go back a week later, it would remember where I was because of that.
That's what I love most about the Switch. Do you have a Switch?
Yes.
Yeah, just the fact that you just hit the power button, put it to sleep, go do something else for days, hit that button again, and the game's just right there. It's going to be like that kind of like game changer with a bunch of different games.
And people aren't going to use quick resume to switch between games as quickly as possible. They're going to realize how cool it is to jump back on a game they played 8 games ago, and it's sitting right there in the pause menu. Like, people are going to go, what? wow, that is so cool. I didn't think I would like that. And it's not something we're paying extra for. It's the software magic that Xbox is doing to make the gaming experience just a little bit cooler.
Yeah, like that's gonna be a godsend for roguelikes. Like if because that's like I play a ton of roguelikes, but some of them you can't stop in the middle of a run. You have to like commit to it. So the fact to be able just to like somebody jumps online, they want to play something else, but you're in the middle of the run, you can be like, all right, cool, pause, switch over to something else, wrap up your game with your friend, and jump right back on. Like super seamless.
It's unreal because I was playing Mafia Definitive Edition and I'm in the middle of a cutscene and I was talking to my friend and I'm like, oh, I can't miss this. So I went into another game so I could play and talk to him and be occupied while we're talking. So when I went back to Mafia, I have to go into launch, splash screen, credit, blah, 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 to get in the menu, hit continue, load my save, and get back into the game. And that's a minute and a half, no big deal. But when it's going to be instantaneous, when it's going to be 5 seconds, you're like, holy smokes, that's really cool.
Yeah, like Gears is another prime example. The intro, loading screens and
With the ice.
splash screens, you can't skip those, and it's like no joke. It's like 3 minutes to get to the main menu.
Because it's hiding everything it needs to ramp up to get you back onto the game.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and developers are really smart about hiding that stuff behind loading screens or cutscenes, and that happens more than we realize when we're watching a cutscene. Sometimes that skip button isn't there because it's loading the next level in for you behind the scenes instead of sitting there looking at a status bar.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Yeah.
Someone said, let's see. I just saw another one. Where did it go?
Where did it go?
Yeah, so quick resume is cool, and we talked about that for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, quick resume is going to be massive because I probably have like 4 or 5 games that I play like in rotation with my friend group, like every week. So you can just have those cached at all times and just switch over super quick.
Yeah, and keep in mind, like I think there's basically a coefficient. If not every game is going to load in 8 seconds or 4 seconds, we thought it would. Like a game like Red Dead Redemption could take 2.5 minutes to get into the world, depending on where you are in the game. That is chopped down 10 times or something like that. There's some type of multiplier I'm kind of seeing when I look at it. If a game takes 2 minutes, it's going to take 20 seconds or 30 seconds, something like that.
Yeah. It won't be universal because each game's going to load a little bit differently, so it's hard to put like a specific number on it. But yeah, you look at stuff like Final Fantasy 15, which takes 1:30 on the Xbox One X and then takes 11 seconds on the Series X to load in. Yeah, in certain cases, it'll be massive difference.
I've got another question here. Let's see. I just said add a question mark so it helps when I'm scanning through.
Oh, yeah.
Xbox and PlayStation said, do you think Cyberpunk will have a performance delta between the Series X and PS5 like Red Dead Redemption 2 was on the Pro and One X? Both games ran at 30 on Red Dead 2, but the resolution was double on the One X.
Mm-hmm. Native 4K.
Native 4K. I don't see a double graphics delta on the PS5. I agree with Miles. It's more like 20 to 25%.
And you won't see that with Cyberpunk at launch. Just so you guys are really aware. Like they haven't been super vocal, but they have publicly said that the like next gen feature updates for Cyberpunk are not coming until after launch, which is kind of a bummer for the Series X and S.
Yeah, because I would love to play that at 60 frames like right away, because I think CD Projekt Red's gonna give a performance mode they did with Witcher.
Exactly. Yeah, similar. Uncap the frame rate.
So I'm going to assume that Cyberpunk is able to hit close to or at native 4K on the Series X. There's no reason why it shouldn't, even if it's at 30. I mean, but it should be able to do dynamic 4K 60. So
that would be what I would hope for.
Yeah, I'm going to predict that the resolution will be very close on the PS5 and Xbox, but the performance will be better because that CPU is faster on the Series X. And remember, when the PlayStation ramps up graphics to meet the Series X, like if the PS5 is trying to meet what the Series X, like it's the other way around. The developer is going to try and get the graphics up as high as they do on the Series X version. If they do that, they have to take compensation on the processor, so there could be a performance difference as far as frame rate. It's going to be really interesting because the PS5 is variable, so it'll be a flux, and maybe it'll be more dynamic resolution scaling and more aggressive on the PS5.
Yeah.
The games will still look great.
Any word on when or if we'll get another chance to order the Xbox Series X or S from Orange? You get glad with the one. Okay.
Orange you glad.
Orange you glad.
That's funny.
Probably not through Xbox, really. They've kind of made it clear that you'll need to keep an eye out on their retail partners for pre-orders. I know they did release some Series S though on their store a couple days ago, so I guess there's a possibility. But I think a lot of that
keep popping up.
I think a lot of it was like, I had a friend who tried to get it through the Xbox store, and he had it in his cart, but it wouldn't let him check out on the day of pre-orders. And then he got an email like 4 days later saying, "Hey, this item's still in your cart. Do you want it?" He's like, "Yes, please." I wasn't able to get it.
Oh my gosh.
It's not clearing people's caches or carts right away, at least on the Xbox store. So, but I don't think we'll see any massive scale releases of this on Xbox's store specifically.
Yeah, I went and looked at the Xbox One sales in the holiday for that from November through December, and they sold, what was it, almost 5 million Xbox Ones at a time when no one really wanted an Xbox One. So it's safe to say they're going to sell, close to 5 million Series S and X's this holiday. Yeah. As long as they can manufacture that many, it's crazy.
That's the only cap, honestly, right now. I've talked about this too. Like, the demand for gaming right now is huge. So no matter what these consoles are, the console that's going to sell the most is the one that has the most SKUs available. No matter how hardcore. Obviously,
yes, because they're so in demand.
Yeah, Sony is a bigger brand and should probably sell more at launch. But if Xbox manufactured more, they would sell more. And that's just really what it's going to come down to this year in particular.
Yeah, it's going to be like that for a year because they're so in demand. It's like Switch was so hard to get a hold of. If they would have made 2 times more, they would have sold every one of them. Mm-hmm. It's that crazy.
That's why you go to like Target and Best Buy and all these places right now, and every single game console is sold out. Like, these consoles have been out for years. Like, there's no reason they should be sold out, but they are. More people are home, more people are playing games, and yeah, that's why pre-orders this year were super spicy.
Yeah, and they were a mess.
It's just the load, the traffic. Like, people want to blame these companies or blame the way that they rolled it out, but it's just the sheer demand. Like, you have these websites are not designed to have millions of people trying to access them at the same time and the same link at the same time. Like, because 99% of the time they're not anywhere close to that. So the infrastructure just explodes when you open the floodgates like that.
Yes. Pong Soul asks Miles and Colteastwood, do developers ever purposely hold back performance on one system to decrease the disparity between the two in third-party games?
I think that's pretty unethical. Yeah, I don't think anybody would purposely make a version run. I hear that thrown around, but I don't think anybody would actually be like, okay, well, this console isn't as powerful, so I'm going to make this console run worse.
Yeah, if you create something, a developer always wants their game to look the best it can on the platforms where people are going to buy it. They don't want somebody to get a game and go, "Oh, why does it look like this?" Like, well, we don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Just we put it out.
People also think that developers will develop for the most popular platform first. That could be true, but that doesn't mean that the lower end hardware will look better or look the same. There are examples. I think recently we just had an example. Mafia Definitive Edition is the same resolution on the Pro and the X, even though the One X is some 30% more powerful, or 40%. That is an example of the developer going, "Look, we're just making the same version and we're getting it out there and just have fun, enjoy it." Like, but that doesn't happen. 98% of the time, the developers go, "How much power do I have? Okay, ramp this up on the One X and ramp that up, or ramp that down for the PS4 Pro because we need to hit a performance target." And they just literally go in there and change a couple settings and then is it running great? Okay, ship it.
Exactly. Like sometimes they, quite frankly, don't spend a lot of time between the versions. Like, so you saw that with like Dark Souls 3 is a prime example. Like, there was no performance mode for Dark Souls 3 on Xbox One, and there was one on PS4 Pro. Just because that PS4 Pro came out first, there was an install base, so they did it when the PS4 Pro launched, and by the time the Xbox One X launched, they just didn't care enough to like do an update for it. So you're locked at 900p 30 FPS, even on your Xbox Series X, which is going to be depressing.
Yeah, it's not like PC where you just don't have control over that, and console games are just locked. That's just how it is. They want their performance to work across for everyone. Holy crap, this is a lot of zombies. Yeah, so they can't just like let you control how. It's just you'd think they would let you control how you want the game to look.
Yeah, just give us more console, options. But like all I want from devs is like, even if they by default want to have a locked frame rate or resolution, like just give me a checkbox that gives me the option to turn that off.
Yeah,
and I'm hoping we see more of that with the Series X, because obviously we're gonna have a lot of games that are hindered just by their performance locks.
Right.
Obi-Wan says, "What did you have for breakfast?" A fun, lighthearted question. I had a bagel with cream cheese.
Yeah, what did you have for breakfast, Miles? Because I think mine was more interesting.
Yeah, a bagel with jalapeno cream cheese is what I had, and a cup of coffee.
Good.
Yeah, it was pretty tasty.
I had a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Ooh, yeah. It's been a minute.
Made me feel young again.
Oh, I love Cinnamon Toast Crunch was the greatest breakfast cereal of all time back in the day. Saturday mornings, slamming a bowl.
Yep.
Let's go.
Yep, full of sugar. It's the best.
All right, we're going to do probably one or two more questions before we shut this all down, but huge thanks to the 250-ish people hanging out on a Saturday. It's been a lot of fun. Huge thanks to Colt for hanging out on getting up early on a Saturday morning. Can we give the man a round of applause for streaming at 9 a.m. here? And Colt, real quick, let these folks know where they can follow you. Like I said, everyone here probably already knows who you are, but if they don't,
if you haven't followed me, I'm on Twitter at Colteastwood, and I'm at Colteastwood on Xbox and PlayStation, and I have an Instagram too that I just post screenshots once in a while. It doesn't really matter. I'm on YouTube. That's where I like to see people the most. I talk to a lot of people on Twitter and YouTube. Those are like my favorite places to talk to people. I'm real far behind on Xbox messages, but I really do keep up on my DMs on Twitter. So yeah, follow me there. It's great. Someone said, Colt, stop eating all your kids' cereal. Yeah, I found a double box like from Costco up at the top of the pantry. And so when they're not looking, I bring that down and pour a bowl and then stash it away.
That's right. Kids don't get all the good stuff, all right?
Oh, yeah.
And then huge thanks to Blondie But Geeky and Hazador for modding like bosses. Yeah, we dropped Colt's link as well for Twitter. I'm kind of the same way too. Like, if you want to keep up to date with me, primarily I'm on Twitter. The Windows Central Gaming YouTube channel where I post all of my videos. But yeah, it's like, if you want to talk Xbox, just hit me up on Twitter. That's usually where I am the most active. But also on Xbox as well. I'll drop my little gamer tag here for anyone who wants to play Gears, because we need to make that happen.
And I'm going to have to do that for sure. Yeah. I'll put this in here too. Put a little merch link.
All right, question for both Colt Eastwood and Miles. Will we see more gameplay footage on your channels when you guys receive the Series X? Yes.
Well, they must think that we're just hot stuff, huh?
Just ballers.
Are you going to get one?
Am I going to get one? I got to call Phil and see what the hold on is. No, honestly, probably not. I think
call Phil.
Even Windows Central Gaming only got approved for one, and of course, Jez locked it down.
Jez.
Freaking jerk. I'm hoping he just sends it to me, but realistically, he'll probably be sending me gameplay footage that he records. Freaking secondhand Xbox Series X gameplay for me.
And these people that got these Series X's, they have to return them, right?
It's not a full retail box from what I understand.
Yeah, it's nearly complete.
And a lot of people don't get that. Yeah, these companies, they're not balling that hard where they can send thousands of people free Xboxes and just let them keep them. But yeah,
$500.
a lot of the
basically
more
what they paid for 'em,
expensive
is
stuff, like
500.
laptops, consoles, etc., you typically have to send back. But yeah, so they're staggering a lot of the information, but keep an eye peeled on our channels because Jez and I are working on all the content that we can technically talk about in video form as well. So yeah, we'll have some gameplay. But right now it's probably mostly back compat until they allow us to talk about the other games, the next gen games, which everything's staggered. So I don't even know what the dates are, to be honest.
They really need to show games running on this. Like they showed Dirt 5 running on the Series S, and like there's just a lot more they can do. And I did a video like a month ago where I said they just need to reach out to these partners and these studios they're working with or partnering with for third party and say, just put out a little 5-minute video showing gameplay and talking about why the Xbox Series consoles made it possible for you to do what you wanted to do. And the Dirt Codemasters developer did that in that interview where he talked about the Series S can do everything they needed to, and the Series X has even more power. And I mean, there's a whole bunch of people they're working with. Crossfire X team.
Bloober's done that with the medium. You can find that.
Yes, Bloober's shown it. Falconer's shown it running on a Series X. Dirt 5 has shown it, but that's like 3 games.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot more we have not seen.
And there's like at least 25 games that are like ready to show. And they just need to send out that same thing, hey, just shoot for a 5 to 8 minute video, record a few minutes of gameplay, and pick someone from your team to talk about why the Xbox Series console makes it possible for you to have this game ready to rock.
Yeah.
And that's the only talking point you need to give them. And any developer can sit down and say, when we got the Xbox Series console, we had this graphics power at our disposal. They don't even have to get technical. With the graphics power available in the Xbox Series consoles and the processing speed allows us to target 60 frames, and we're able to make the game look vibrant, and we can ramp up reflections and blah, 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 and show the gameplay. And just sending that out would do wonders for the community. That's what they want to see.
People are super hungry for that, and we'll see a little bit more of that going to launch. Keep your eyes peeled on the ID at Xbox YouTube channel. Their following is kind of small right now, but they get a lot of cool developer interviews as well. So if you're really interested in the kind of like technical, geeky side of things, yeah, follow that channel. They're going to have a lot of stuff coming up from developers too. And I can pretty much guarantee it's going to be catered towards the series consoles. So, yeah, but I agree that we haven't seen enough at this point, and it's kind of weird. But again, a lot of that I think boils down to all the PR hoops that Xbox makes you jump through for anything. Including their teams too. Like when we want to get interviews set up, we have to go through a series of people to make that happen. So
yeah, and I've tried to double down that these things don't take, these studios are busy building games, but it just takes a couple people and somebody from their PR team of their studio to put together a video like that, and it could take them just a week. I can do a video in a day if I bust my butt.
Yeah. If you send me a bunch of footage, I'll do it. Wink.
Yeah, ask one of your tech leads in your game studio. Say, hey, I need you to record 20 minutes of footage, and then give it to our editing person, and they'll cut it down, and then we're gonna have Jenny. She's gonna write up a little 8-minute script, and she's gonna record why this is possible. Yeah. And it could take just a few people to make that video. And I know things are difficult because it's all remote and we're all working from home, and teams. These studios, work with 20 to 200 or 300 people, and they're all not sitting in the same building every morning at 8 o'clock. So it's not as easy, but it is very possible. And I don't think it's asking them too much. I just don't think Xbox is asking them to do it, and it's something they need to do. But I've also heard I'm talking like 100 miles an hour. I've also heard many times that this is coming. Like
it's definitely
Jason
coming.
Ronald has said that this gameplay is coming, but as gamers, we're like, but 5 minutes has passed.
Yeah,
But we're long overdue.
It's coming, but we're a month out. But it's coming.
Yeah,
but yeah,
absolutely.
So
it's really late.
We'll start to see stuff in the coming weeks for sure. It's all, I think a lot of it was part of the press getting the Series X's, because I think that's factored into their staggered rollout of like, they should have really done that before pre-orders, but I mean, I guess it doesn't matter because they obviously sold out of pre-orders. So we'll definitely start to see more gameplay from specific titles, and including next gen titles as well. Again,
I also have an interesting thing to say about that. I was telling the guys last night when we were talking on Xbox.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
People say everything we've seen is on PC. You know, this is the hard thing for people to swallow. What you see on PC is going to look the same or better on the Series X. So have that expectation. Because if they're running on a high-end spec PC, like the games we've seen for Xbox that are not on Series X are not running on an RTX 3080 or 3090. They're probably running on a 2080 or 2080 Ti.
Mm-hmm.
They're builds that they've had around. They could be even older builds. So we've seen stuff run at 30 that we know is going to run at 60. So when you actually see native content running on Series X, expect it to look exactly the same as you saw, or possibly better.
It's going to be better. It's going to be better optimized for sure, and that's another thing that people kind of discount with PC gaming is, on paper, yeah, a lot of PCs can be better, but there's a lot of other system processes that are far more demanding than a streamlined kind of console environment. I have a buddy who has a decent gaming PC right now, and he legit bought a Series X because he didn't feel like upgrading his PC. He's like, this thing's gonna be better, so I'm gonna pay $500 and instead of getting a new graphics card.
I'm also going to make a bold statement that I think that once we see Cyberpunk 2077 running optimized for Series X and enhanced, that it's going to look better than what we've seen on YouTube so far. Because they've been showing us. Have we seen 4K 30? We've never seen any. I don't think we've seen any 60 FPS gameplay of Cyberpunk yet. And if they have a performance mode,
trailer-wise,
I mean, all the gameplay I've seen is 30 frames. It's ramped up visuals at 30 frames. I haven't seen any 60 frames footage. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you guys have seen it, I would love to see that sent to me, or just let me know. But I've seen like this high resolution 30 frame Cyberpunk, and if you see that game running at 1440p 60 on a Series X, it's going to look better than everything we've seen up to date, because it's just better tech.
There we go. The man has spoken, folks. I
agree.
mean,
I don't want to see a first person game in 30 anymore. I'm done.
Those days need to be gone. Like I won't not play something because it's in 30. I have some PC elitist friends who are like, will not play a game if it's not in 60, but 60 is it's more enjoyable. Like things just look nicer. The feel of the game is better. Like playing Dark Souls 1 and 2 remastered versus Dark Souls 3, it's so hard to go to Dark Souls 3 at 30 compared to those two at 60. So I'm glad that that's finally going to be the standard for console gaming, because it's been a minute. It's been a long time since we've had frame rates over kind of graphics as the standard for performance.
Yeah, it's going to be good. So be excited. Like, console generation is going to start, and it's going to be better than what we're dealing with now. It's going to be so great. I can't wait. Those frame rates, and there's a bunch of games coming. Like, it's hype time.
This jump is going to be huge. This jump, and just talking to Jez, like, it's unfortunate that we don't have Jez here, but if you guys watched Xbox 2 yesterday, he talked about his impressions of the Series X a bit. But yeah, talking to him about just the update to a game like Monster Hunter World with no update on Capcom side at all, just having this game run at a pretty much locked 60 is a complete game changer. Like, the performance mode on that game was nice, but you were rarely hitting 60. It was like 45.
It was 30 to
45.
Yeah, it was 30 to 60 over and over. Yeah, 30, 60, 30, 60.
Huge dips.
I played a lot of it in performance mode. I left it in performance mode. I'm like, I'd rather deal with the dips than play it at, when you play 60 and then you go back and look at 30, it feels like a film strip to me. You see that shutter, that shutter look.
Especially when you like turn the camera, like you can see the background kind of like jolt, which is kind of jarring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going. It's just really, it's hard to explain once your eyes get adjusted to 60, and then but your eyes do have to get adjusted to 30 as well. So
Yeah, like you can go back and it'll take a few minutes, but your eyes will adjust to 30 and it'll be fine. But yeah, 60 or death, bro.
it'll be great. I can't wait. I'm excited.
Oh, well, awesome. I think with that, we're going to wrap everything up. Huge thanks to everyone who hung out today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel and want to give us a little support, do that. Smash that like button, gamers. And yeah, be sure to hit up Colteastwood as well. Again, thanks so much for hanging out. I know it was kind of a short notice thing. You guys had some family stuff, but I'm glad we got to kind of sit down and talk for what, 3 hours? Is that what we're at now?
I think so.
Hot diggity damn, time flies.
It does. We stood around in the base for quite a while there. All of our characters are probably sleepy. It's great.
Cool. Well, with that, I'm going to shut down the stream, but thanks so much for watching, guys, and we will see you next Saturday.